Here we go, moving into the second week of Blue Water League. I'm once again back on the mic. Korak here for your host and joined again by Mr. Chong. Hello, Chong. How are you doing today, my friend?
I'm doing great. I had the day off from work yesterday after going in at 5 a.m. So happy I don't have to do
Ooh.
that. And we can already see that our draft overlay is broken. So I'm going to go to our little cheat sheet over here and let everybody know what's going on so far. No, it's just draft law that's broken. So when we know,
Great.
you'll know. But before that, we can talk about these teams a little bit. Conduit Reapers going to be starting on their red side. This is actually their first game this season, and BOL Platinum, as they did have the bye week last week. So for that team, we got Gav Dougie Fresh up in top lane, Notorious TLP in the jungle, Blocky Panda mid, Buck, aka Finny, in the ADC, and Fenbach is the starting support, but he is not playing tonight. They have Lynxy subbing in. So another top laner subbing in for support for this team. While on the other side, we got TFF Lich Bane, who did get that win in week number 1. They got Ish in the top lane, Singular Bread in jungle, Cyclone mid, Weird Step Bro AD carry, and Pink Penguin
Oh,
as
no.
support. All
That's
right, so
that's a list of names right there, Chong. I think the one I'm going to highlight there is Pink Penguin. I'm a big fan of that. We do have. It looks like our bands are filling in retroactively. I think because we got Jax right there, who was originally invisible. But
all right.
Jax, Wukong, Twitch for the right hand side, Mystery for the first one on blue side, Akali and Morgana.
Oh, it's Urgot is the first ban on the
Urgot.
side of TFF
Okay,
Lich Bane. Okay.
it's fine. He doesn't need a picture.
I mean, it does make a lot of sense to ban away the Urgot. It is Gav's
Mm-hmm.
most played champion in ranked this
Mm-hmm.
season, so not surprised to see that as a ban. Akali always it's definitely an interesting ban. Because I know Cyclone does play Akali as well, but they don't want to give it over because that is Blocky Panda's most played in solo queue again. And then the third ban was, hold on, I gotta go back. Morgana.
Morgana. Yep.
Okay, whatever. I don't
Okay,
know.
there's an angle here for Morgana, right? I'm literally coming from Path to Pro where I have seen Morgana back to back consistently. She is very, very powerful. She's much more powerful inside the mid lane because not only does her Dark Binding stun you for 16 centuries, but it can also begin to kill you. So I do understand that even if it's not a targeted pick, she's very, very powerful and she's really frustrating to deal with. Anyone who's played into Morgana, it's just not a fun lane 9 times out of 10. But I do like the first pick here. We've gone from Mel into Zen on the other side. Both very, very solid picks for starting this one off, Chong.
Yeah, I mean, I do understand Morgana's a strong champion, but I'm surprised at the ban because nobody on the side of Conduit Reapers really does play this champion. And if you're gonna pick
Mm-hmm.
Mel, I think Mel has a really good matchup into Morgana because you can just rebuttal that Dark Binding back into her, then get your own route, and then probably just one shot her from that point. Or she has
Mm-hmm.
to force use the Black Shield to get not rooted up by her own Dark Binding, and then you can still CC her down, especially with the Sejuani on you team. But on the side of Conduit Reapers, it was that Zinzao first pick that we don't get to see yet. And then they're picking up the Ziggs. The Ziggs is probably going to be going bot lane for Buck. I'm probably just going to end up calling him Finny half the time because that's what I know him as. This guy
Mm-hmm.
name swaps like nobody's business. But yeah, the side of TFF Lichbane going with a pretty conventional draft early. The Mel being the first early pick, and then you get that strong Freluidian synergy with all the slows coming out from Ashe and both the Sejuani. I assume Conduit Reaper's going to be wanting to ban the Braum now, but another champion that does rocket in value into the 3 picks that TFF Lichbane has picked is Milio. Milio's ultimate is really good into all 3 of these champions. Doesn't ideally lane well with the Ziggs, but it's actually gonna be the Aurelia picked in the mid lane here for Blocky Panda, which is one of Cyclone's best champions. He's not gonna be able to play it and could have a rough time as the Mel in this lane if the Aurelia is able to actually punish it. But if you don't get ahead as Aurelia, it's one of those champions that does just absolutely nothing in the late game if you are not at least somewhat ahead or even with the pace of the game.
Well, and I was originally going to say this could be a potential flex pick on Ziggs, but with Aurelia getting locked in, I think we definitely know where everyone's going at this point. Not that you really need to counter it because we're pretty positive that Mel is going to go mid lane. However, I have gotten to a pretty big discussion with a bunch of people where Mel is just as viable in the bot lane. I think she's obviously stronger in mid lane, but she's just as viable there for the bot lane, even as an ADC role. But we obviously have Ashe. It's not like Ashe is going to go mid. At least I hope to God this isn't Ashe mid, but it should be Mel in the mid lane. Sejuani, always a solid choice. And I think people are kind of afraid to pick Sejuani from time to time because, Sejuani's not flashy and kind of takes the sort of like tank support role. But Sejuani does a lot, especially for these sort of first kind of picks. It's a great tempo check to see how the other side is going to do. And it doesn't fare too bad into Zen.
Yeah, I think Sejuani's only a good pick if you're picking it after the enemy jungle has already picked. Because if you're locking in an early Sejuani and then they just slam Trundle, you were going to have one of the worst times playing this game. But now, speaking of slamming Trundle, that's a Scion on the enemy team. As TFF Lich Bane, you could just pick that up there in the top lane and really kind of neuter the Scion's effectiveness, especially if you get a good pillar when he's trying to use that unstoppable onslaught. Just get it immediately
Mhm.
canceled. And then he really has no 1v1 power against the Trundle because of that ultimate. But the last ban that we don't get to see on the side of Conduit Reapers is actually that Renekton. They hovered it for a second. I think that set pick would have been insane. So last night, if people don't know how the leagues work here, was Platinum Division for BOL, and on the stream in Game 3, we saw a set literally win a team fight by grabbing a Mundo and slamming him into 4 people, and ended the game with a quadra kill and just won the game for his team. That was on a nice edge. So I think set into some of these matchups, like people are afraid to actually pull it out and actually experiment with it. But I think it would have been great. And actually, the last pick down there that we won't get to see is the Nautilus. So Ash Nautilus is a strong lane. It's not the strongest. Like when I think Ash, I think best pairings are Braum, Milio, respectively, and then you can start falling into like Leona, Nautilus, and stuff like this. But Braum and Milio were both up. I think I really would have liked to see that, but I guess the side of TFF Lich Bane just really wanted to secure their engage option. And Conduit Reaper's doing the same. They're picking Rel on the R5 here. Another champion I would like to see, Alistair. I think this champ is insanely broken. There's a reason all the pros play it. People on Path to Pro play it. Like, I just think Alistair's in a really good state in the game, and also it
Mhm.
really dissuades like stuff like Rel and all these other melee engages to be picked just because Alistair can fare so well into all of them. But both teams really looking to do a front to back style team fight. The only real difference in this game is going to be this Aurelia mid for the side of Conduit Reapers, really shaking stuff up and really putting a question mark around this champion. And hopefully they're able to get ahead, because if they aren't, it could be a rough time for Conduit Reapers in the damage profile. If Ziggs isn't landing these bouncing bombs and hitting crucial poke, and Xin Zhao isn't super far ahead, it just becomes a no damage comp on the side of Conduit.
Absolutely. And something I think that's going to be important to watch out for is going to be grabbing those void grubs. Conduit wants to get their hands on those void grubs. They have Ziggs, they have Scion, which means that the other side's going to be really wanting to deny that from them. I suspect that we have an opportunity to give up the early Drake about 5 minutes, but taking an objective into Ziggs can be very, very hard to deal with. We're not going to get any rotations from like Scion, but the fact that Aurelia's there, the fact that Rel's there, the fact that Ziggs is there, that's a very hard objective to go into if you're sitting on the blue side. So I do like the chances to grab these early on objectives. The team fight phase is already discussed in great detail by my colleague here. So I don't think there's any notes for me to add onto this. And something I wanted to note, you brought up the Alistair, and I think Alistair's a good point. He's very, very powerful. And honestly, I think the best pairing for Alistair is actually Yanara. And the reason why I say this is because Alistair pairs a lot of good knock-up there with that. Even though we're not seeing this in this one, I think that 1-2 combo is really, really great, because Yanara is still very, very powerful. She just doesn't have the speed and the slow she used to. And those speeds and slows don't matter when you have such a large knock-up. Braum, I agree with you, would have been a great pick here, but I do see the angle for Nautilus, Chung.
Yeah, it's definitely much more reliably engaged than having it just be solely on the Sejuani and then Braum to follow it up. But I do think overall, I think TFF definitely has the better composition. They have a lot of ways to actually start fights now that I'm looking at it more. You have Sejuani, Nautilus, Enchanted Crystal Arrow out of Ash, the pullback from Mordekaiser, even Mel getting a multi-man route could be massive. While Conduit Reapers, this rel is really going to have to come from angles and try to really find a way to get to the back line and threaten them without getting caught out by all of the CC and ways to interrupt her on the side that TFF Lich Bane has drafted. But it's a lot easier with the other champs that you have, because Xin Zhao's going to be doing something similar, as is the Scion,
Mhm.
even the Aurelia. So Rel could just, in theory, do a secondary engage on all that from the front and doesn't have to look for these weird angles. But like I said, if Conduit Reapers ends up falling behind, they're gonna really lack damage come the later game. While TFF Lichbane, they kind of spike in the mid game with this Mel Ash Mordekaiser, where if it does go late and the Ziggs, is in a pretty good spot, that poke can be lethal if it is all landing. So it's really gonna be interesting to see how these teams pair up, considering they have similar identities with just slightly different ways to execute these team fights with the front to back drafts that they have gone for here.
I think the primary difference, if we're just trying to separate these two, is when we're looking at Conduit, their team is very, very forward motion, right? Of course, you got the Scion, you've got the Aurelia, you've got the Zen, a lot to do with. They do have a bit of versatility where they can turn things around because Crescent Guard can be used in multiple different ways. Of course, with Aurelia to lock people down, there's a lot of stuff there. But the other side for TFF is something to watch out for. That stun with Mel is going to be so important, especially if you've got all these people trying to rush into such a small area. Mel can pick up a massive stun right here, and the ultimate for Sejuani, if they use it defensively, that Glacial Apparition can do a lot of work for them. Not to mention, we still have the, of course, the Death Realm with Mordekaiser in order to isolate and pull someone in. But I am kind of worried because I'm assuming they're going to want to try to go for someone like Aurelia or maybe Ziggs, and if Aurelia gets fed, that's just trapping yourself away for your own death unless the Mordekaiser gets fed, Chong.
I mean, even if he does that, it can be pivotal in team fights because you take away the soul fed member. Cool, you'll lose the 1v1, but that's a few seconds that buys your team opportunity to get some more members from the side of Conduit Reapers off the map. It's like a noble sacrifice, just being like, I won't win this 1v1, but hopefully you guys can win the team fight even when she does come out of this death realm. But I mean, only way we're going to be able to find that out is when we get onto the Rift for game number 1. We're going to head to a short break here while we wait for the spectator delay. Do not go anywhere. We'll be back in a couple of minutes.
Alrighty, Chong, here we go. And we're starting off with a 5-man stack already, looking for a healthy snack. I don't think we're going to get it, though, unless Ziggs gets particularly brave. No, I don't think it's going to happen. Although running into the Nautilus, running that hook would be very, very scary. But Buck definitely feels the disturbance in the forest as he backs up behind his own tower.
They also messed up by going over vision, and now the side of Conduit Reapers just gets to go get a free ward on blue buff. Also, when you pick Nautilus, he's supposed to do the classic welcome to North America and just run straight down mid lane and be willing to burn your Nautilus flash for enemy mid/jungle flash to try to land a hook. But they went through bot lane, which is interesting because, like, Buck played it well. He put a ward down, and then you saw he walked all the way back to almost his tier 2 turret, just going, nobody's showing on vision in mid lane. They could be bot lane. They could be anywhere. I'm just going to play this safe and walk all the way back. But interesting to note, Linksy is actually playing in the top lane, and normal top laner for Conduit Reapers, Gav Dougie Fresh, going to be playing support, and I don't think I've ever seen this man play support in my life, so really going to be watching him in this one. Went for the heal on the Rel, which makes sense. I think he also could have just gone with the classic Exhaust or Ignite, but felt the heal was going to be better for the laning and for the team fight. And then Pink Penguin took Exhaust smartly for both the Zinzao and the Aurelia, whichever one is fed when they try to dive into that backline. So very smart pickup there.
Absolutely, and I like this little back and forth that we're getting already. Gav taking a healthy amount of damage. The same thing happening there on the side of Pink Penguin, but Buck is still on top of this, and we have plenty of beef. We have plenty of health regen on the side of Rel, so I think you've got to be liking that trade. I feel like the trades favor the Ziggs a little bit more just because of the pure poking power.
I think Gav also just misplayed there, staying in for a little bit too long. Like, you have a level 1 Ziggs. You're not going to out-trade an Ashe at level 1, especially because this Ashe started with Q, I believe, and not the volley, if I saw correctly from the animations during that trade in the bot lane. But Gav did take a lot. He had to burn the heal there, and funnily enough, is the first one to burn a pot. Pink Penguin didn't even drink his health potion yet. Weird Step Bro actually going to be going with that potion chug early here in this lane just to try to survive the poke coming out from Buck on the Ziggs. But Ziggs is also one of those champions you really do have to conserve your mana bar. You really want to try to get as quickly to that lost chapter as possible, and then just TP back to the lane and just basically permaclear waves for the rest of existence, as Ish and Linksy trading up in the top lane.
This is a bit deceptive, though, because Sion does a lot more damage, and he's kind of one of those ones, ooh, Blocky Panda, got to worry about Sejuani going their way in, but unfortunately, Cyclone missing the stun means it's not going to be a kill in mid lane, so the puckering up seems to work for Aurelia, and I think Aurelia is going to be one of these ones that we really, really need to keep an eye on. Aurelia, like we were talking about in the background, is still a very, very scary champion for people to get fed on, and so if that happens, that's going to be something to watch out for.
Yeah, and also, all things considered, Blocky Panda really knocked down CS. You expect when you're playing melee into range, you're going to be dropping a lot of that early CS, but doing a good job to stay even with Cyclone at this point in the game. I mean, everybody's basically even on CS at this point, as another trade in the bot lane. But just going to be
is out of mana.
Yeah,
so that is something to note. He does have TP. Go ahead.
Yeah, like I was saying, Ziggs really needs to get to that first item. Oh, Bread is back for a gank here.
Once again, Bread going in, looking for an angle, forcing the flash there of Aurelia. They were able to hold on to it as Gav goes back in directly to their doom. Just one shot, and they find it. Weird Step Bro picking up the first blood in this game number 1. That's got to be feeling nice. The only unfortunate part of that though, is that it is on the Ashe. Not the world's best carry, but still, grabbing those feats of warfare have got to be helpful.
I mean, Ashe did get buffed right before Worlds, more damage on that Q, so actually can carry in these late game team fights. The real question is Ashe going to have enough damage to eat through a Scion late game? And that's really the question for TFF Lich Bane's draft in the late game. Your carries are a Mel and a Ashe, not notably the best tank killers in the game. Luckily, Mel does have that execute, but if they do not get to a point strong enough and Linksy doesn't get put far enough behind, I see a hard time for TFF being able to cut through the Scion in late game team fights. So we're going to have to be keeping our eyes on that one. And notably, I said I've never seen Gav play support before, just looking like he doesn't know the windows here on this rel for when to engage, when you need to disengage as this champion, and sadly did go down for that first blood in the bot lane. So gonna have to keep my eyes on that and see how he does here, as Buck did get his first back and was notably not on that lost chapter because Gav did fall, had to take a not an ideal recall, but comes back with a tier, an amplifying tome, and the worst item in the game for your gold, a glowing moat.
At the very least, that tier should help him out. Mana being a big concern for him, and he's able to make it back to lane sooner rather than later. A little bit up on CS, nothing real major. Sion actually doing fairly well into Mordekaiser. Usually Sion struggles a bit into Mord early on, but you cannot underestimate the damage for Sion. And the thing I think we're looking for the mid to late fight team phase is I think if we're able to get a lot of stuns and a lot of kiting, I think that's the angle for TFF to win these fights. Death Realm going to get called down on Lynxy, trying to lock him down. Needs to find the damage there for Sion, and I think he might just have it. Sion overstaying his welcome is going to get taken down as the Drake does start, and Nautilus is able to pick up a kill, grabbing the feats of warfare for his team as Zen goes in, takes the Drake. Cyclone looking for the stun, just not able to reach it, but Zen is now on the chopping block to get taken down. The hook is good as they pull it in, and Cyclone picks up a kill. TFF may have not gotten their hands on the early Drake, but that is a lot of gold starting off in this early game.
Yeah, and that's a risky Drake start for the side of Conduit. Just because you have a Ziggs as your bot laner, he is not great at taking neutral objectives in the early game.
Oh,
Black Panda has no flash.
Once again, Blocky Panda gonna get ganked for the third time, taken down, and Cyclone picking up a second kill, getting fed. I think that's exactly who you want to get fed. Mel is so powerful with those executes, and maybe the goal is to end this game early before Sion gets to be tanky.
Yeah, and that's just a little bit of disrespect there by Blocky Panda. You knew the enemy team had just taken the dragon. You should not be pushing up in that lane. You gotta be willing to sacrifice some CS here and fall back. But we see Blocky Panda running back here as Gav is sitting in a brush towards the mid lane. They're looking for a play on Cyclone. Has no mana, but notably does have flash.
Rel looking for the stuns and the knockup. The flash did come there for Cyclone, and I don't blame them. They don't want to lose their lead, especially not to Blocky Panda, because even though Blocky Panda does not have the 2 kills that Mel does, Aurelia is still very frightening, and that shutdown gold would be so great on them right now. We are looking to start, or at least get our hands on Void Grubs, and I mentioned how important the Grubs are going to be for the team with Ziggs, are going to be for Conduit.
Yeah, and we see that the side of TFF has moved their bot lane up to this top lane as they tried to play for this, but because Cyclone had to burn that flash and didn't have TP, that means the side of Conduit is able to start this one up. They're able to pick up the first one, and now the collapse is coming in for TFF Lich Bane. Notably, Ashe does have level 6, so we're going to have to see how this fight does go down.
Mel has rotated, looking for the stun. Should be able to get one at least. Rel going to get locked down as the Void Grubs in the background are getting taken out by Zen, buying themselves some time. They do get the lion's share, and now they can turn this fight around. Sion able to get a decent knock up. The stun comes in from Mel, but will it be enough damage as Pink Penguin getting taken down there, leaving Bread entirely there by themselves. So not only are the Void Grubs going to fall to the other side, but they're going to get 2 kills right after Sion dies, but that's still going to be a healthy trade, a 1 for 2 plus the objective.
Yeah, and I mean, Lynxy played that fight really well, just taking up so much damage. Got a 2-man knock-up into the 2-man unstoppable onslaught, and then the rest of the engage is able to come out from the side of Conduit Reapers. And Notorious TLP gets a nice chunk damage down on the Pink Penguin and uses that Crescent Guard really well to separate the whole fight and kind of isolate the support, while Gav was able to find the backline. They're able to find weird step bro here.
Rel going over the wall. Looks like we're going to get Zen going in on them as well, and this should be at all but a dead step bro. Yes, indeed, he's going to get taken down, and most importantly, he's going to fall to Blocky Panda, to that Aurelia.
Yeah, and he flashed early there, so because of it, Notorious TLP was still able to follow him on that audacious charge. He didn't wait for the charge to go through and then flashed. He flashed early, so Zen relocates to his exact spot, and that just means the demise of Weird Step Bro. Didn't even pop the barrier, knew he was just going to go down there. But like you said, Blocky Panda is able to pick up that kill. Obviously not as strong as Mel at this point in the game, sitting at 1-1 and 2, but even on CS, picking up his first kill is going to be feeling good about that, and everybody knows how strong Aurelia is once she does get that Blade of the Rune King. Aurelia is kind of that champion. It's like, cool, I have one item. Now I just build everything else. It doesn't feel as good for the rest of the game. So have to see how Blocky Panda plays out these team fights when they do start to break out again. Did a nice job around those Void Grubs getting a 3-man stun after Lynxie did get a lot of CC down. As Lynxie and Ish just going to be trading down here in the bot lane again, but Lynxie should just be A-okay. But now the eyes are going to be on this next dragon, because if the side of Conduit Reapers is able to pick one up, they'll get the feat of Monster Slaying, so the game will come down for the warfare for that first turret to fall. But TFF going to want to try to stop that stacking, get it going in their direction, because they have the first 3 kills, want to try to claim those feats, which can be very powerful in this game for either side who's able to pick it up.
Pressure about even there on the bot lane. We do have Banana Bush in the control of Conduit with that pink ward there. Zen just sort of waiting for some sort of opportunity to happen. We don't have the number advantage just quite yet. We have it positioned, but it can quickly switch in that favor. Speaking of that favor, there it is. Rel going there in the back line. Exhaust coming down on Blocky Panda. Blocky Panda needs that to pop off. They're going to get their ultimate down. Able to do a good chunk of damage. Cyclone in, grabbing a 3-man stun, which is exactly what you want to see. Looking for the execute, but it doesn't matter as Aurelia picks up a double kill. This can still go either way. Ish looking for the angle. He's got to get the kills there inside of his death realm. He picks it up, but Mel picking up a triple kill as things turn around on Conduit, as TFF is looking in great shape, and now they can get their hands on the objective.
Blocky Panda was able to find the back line, but so was Ish. He was able to pull Buck into that death realm, and Ziggs is not going to be able to 1v1 a Mordekaiser at any point in the game. And Cyclone with a nice TP is able to pick up 3 kills for himself in that team fight. I would not shocked to see him picking up a Magi's, as that Dark Seal is already fully stacked. Gav is looking to... Okay.
A little bit awkward, unfortunately, for Gav.
Yeah, I mean, Gav tried to start that fight out early, but notably not level 6 yet at this point in the game. He had a nice engage onto multiple members, but if he was level 6, the fight could have looked a little bit different for the side of Conduit Reapers. But, I mean, TFF Lich Bane just played it so well once they were able to get Blocky Panda out of that fight, and Cyclone was just free-firing off on the side the entire time. Ish comes out of the Death Realm after already killing Ziggs, is able to help take down this Scion, and, I mean, TFF Lich Bane able to pick up the dragon, stop the stacking coming out from Conduit Reapers on these neutral objectives, and then kind of just accelerate the game from that point. Now up 2,000 gold. This Mel is going to be a problem for the side of Conduit Reapers the rest of this game, sitting at 6-0-1.
Ooh, Notorious taking a good chunk of damage. He's going for the Void Grub, having to blow Crescent Guard, but a Hook's coming in immediately, trying to lock him down, as well as an Ash Arrow, but it's just not going to be enough. He does get the objective, but that was so many ultimates blown, or so many tools blown on the side of Conduit, which are going to be more tools they don't have for ganking and everything else. And yes, indeed, I do agree. Cyclone getting 6-0 is going to be really, really devastating. We saw in that last major fight how powerful those stuns are, and keeping an eye on those stuns, I think, is going to tell you how these fights are going to go. But, you know, same thing for the other side. Blocky Panda, you cannot ignore them on that Aurelia.
Yeah, I mean, Notorious TLP sadly had to use Flash and Crescent Guard, but luckily for them, they have a minute before this Rift Herald does spawn, so that Crescent Guard should be back up, just will not have the Flash for this fight. But, I mean, they used less stuff on the side of TFF. They really only used the Ashe ultimate. They still have Sedge ult, Flash, Pink Penguin on this Nautilus still has Flash and ultimate. So the fight start is still lethal for the side of TFF Lich Bane. It's just really how Conduit plays around it, because they do have a lot of stuff to slow down and deter fights between Gav's Magnet Storm, the Crescent Guard out of Notorious TLP, and even Lynxie just being a front line. We saw the last time they fought around a neutral objective around this top side, it went in Conduit Reaper's favor, so maybe they'll be able to do so again when this Rift Herald does spawn, as now you see Blocky Panda going to the bot lane, has TP, Buck is in the mid lane, Cyclone has to run up here because he doesn't have TP while they send Ish bot lane to start this, but now that means Lynxie has full access to this river, but he's going to try to take a recall here before this fight does start for the Rift Herald, as teams are just jockeying for a position in this river on the control of game of vision.
Still looking for the pressure on both sides. Ziggs, luckily for the other side, hasn't been able to make it to the towers. Something I think the casters at LTA Grand Finals pointed out is it doesn't matter if you have Void Grubs if you can't make it to the tower. Ish duking it out right now with Blocky Panda. Blocky Panda taking so much damage as Mordekaiser pulls her into Death Realm and takes her out. Now sitting at 3-0. TFF looking in such great shape. All of their carries are fed. Ziggs trying to be a little bit cheeky, taking his hands down on Shelly, but it just was not going to be enough. The arrow coming in, but pretty good dodge on the other side as Ish is sort of just left here to his own devices to free farm and take down the tower.
Yeah, and we did see a Mordekaiser back in week number 1, even though we didn't get to cast that game. I'm curious if Ish is going to go for the same build and build into that experimental Hex play as his next item, or if he is just going to go for that Rylai's to have that sticking power on the enemy team. But with first turret going down to Ish, that is the feat claimed by the side of TFF Lich Bane. They are looking poised here in this game. The Cyclone's going to take a lot of damage here. We've seen Scions get solo kills before.
Oh, he is looking for it. The rebuttal comes in, but it's going to be a little too late as Scion picks up a kill. That may seem like a bad thing, but I'm going to hold to my belief. I believe Scion is one of the most broken champions in the game for a million different reasons, and getting him fed is just going to be really scary, especially getting all of that shutdown gold into a tower. His macro potential is so powerful. He does not have Void Grubs, but actually he does have Void Grubs, which means his pushing power is going to be even stronger.
Look, I said it earlier. If this Scion gets fed, it's very hard for the side of TFF to kill him. And this Scion is a big point. Oh.
Buck locking himself back into the other side. He does have a flash forward, but the hook does miss. The ultimate does not, because it's a little bit easier to hit. And Gaz spend a little bit extra time. Aurelia trying to come in and find the damage. Blocky, TP coming in. They can lose their number advantage extremely quickly as Rel gets a little bit too close, gets taken out and destroyed, and that's 2 kills in the favor of TFF. Conduit is doing well, but they need to step it up just a little bit more if they're going to compete with TFF.
Buck used the satchel charge early and flew back into the enemy team, and that spelt his demise. Then Gav tries to go in and try to save his AP carry, his AD lane partner, but just was not able to and ends up falling down because he tries to go back in once Blocky Panda does end up, TPing into that play. But now that's another dragon picked up here. It is a Chemtech Soul, which can be one of the more, it's not the most fun soul, but it is one of the more fun maps with these super blast cones making crazy plays if you are able to get the right angles on them. Blocky Panda just going to take a turret shot here, and Ish is on his way, and we saw how this 1v1 went last time.
And since then, he's got a little bit more gold in his pocket as Pink. And we get a support on support fight over here. Shouldn't really favor anyone. Ash does step up. Wards do go down as Mordekaiser's left here to get a bit of farming out and ready to go. Objectives have really fallen to the side of TFF for the most part. I guess it's been split. 2 Drakes on the side of TFF and 2 objectives on the side of Conduit, grabbing that all-important other side. But I think another thing to note is the only one to take... No, it looks like each side's been able to take a T1. I thought the only one to take a T1 was TFF, but that's not the case.
Yeah, I mean, the real only difference in objective claims this game is the Rift Herald went over to the side of TFF. Still haven't popped it yet. You can still see it in Bread's inventory here. But yeah, also both of these supports unlock at first item. I get it. It's good. I think Redemption first item for both of these supports would have been so good just because of how teamfights want to be played out by both these teams. If you want to play front-to-back teamfight and you're playing against front-to-back teamfight, the best thing to beat it is a little bit more health over top of your team whenever the engage does come out, because then the enemy team has to extend just a little bit further to try to get these kills. You get a little bit more health, which means the turnaround is a little bit easier. I think Redemption still should be the first build for a lot of champions, but Riot said, hey, we're gonna nerf it so it isn't the first build on everybody anymore. I see why Locket has its value. I just think Redemption in this game number 1 would have been incredibly value for both these supports, and I don't think either of them are gonna end up building it at all, just because in this elo people don't value it as much as they should with how they don't understand the dynamics of team composition versus team composition, as well as people up in higher ranks do. Where Redemption, we would probably see this be built up in like Diamond, Emerald, all the way up to Pros as a first item for these supports in this game here.
Linksy, most importantly, able to miss their knock up the hook coming down on Gav. Gav getting a little bit too close, but he's got plenty of time to absorb this damage. Cyclone in a little bit of trouble, but he's got an immediate stun on the Zen as Sion goes in, but Nautilus making the good guy play is going to absorb it as Ziggs, bomb coming through, picking up a kill there on the other side, but it looks like it's going to be support after support going down, and this is turned into a pure 4v4 with Shelly on the other side.
Yeah, I mean, Notorious TLP hit that Wind Becomes Lightning onto Cyclone and then tried to Audacious charge in. Singular Bread had a nice Arctic Assault to cancel that, so it forced the Crescent Guard to come out from the Xin Zhao. And yeah, Pink Penguin does go down, but because they popped the Rift Herald and drove it mid lane, the side of Conduit tried to respond to it instead of, creating more vision for this dragon or even, looking towards this Otacon as a potential take, and then end up even on the backside losing their own support because of Cyclone hitting that last little bit of damage onto him, as now teams are just going to be positioning, fighting for mid-wave control as the dragon does come up in a minute 30 and Otacon is on this bot side. Gav could be in a little bit of trouble again.
Gav once again running into trouble, but that is going to be a 4-man ult, followed into a good chunk of damage. Blocky Panda going to pick up the exhaust as soon as they go in, popping their ultimate. Will they be able to dig deep and find the damage? They're getting so close to going down. Mel gets stun after stun as Sion interrupts her, tries to find the damage. The same thing can be said for Mordekaiser. He's an absolute beast, and he continues to hit person after person. Cyclone somehow able to escape from this, and things are not looking well for Conduit.
Ish is the MVP of that fight. Twice he canceled full channel knockups from Linky with that Death Grasp, which could have been massive for the side of Conduit Reapers. But Ish is the difference maker on this Mordekaiser. That's now going to be Otacon picked up here for the side of Conduit. Cyclone barely lives in that team fight, flashing away after getting so much damage done to him as Linksy. Gav also had a really nice start to that fight, getting a 4-man Magnet Storm, but his team just was not close enough to be able to follow it up. And the exhaust, like I mentioned at the start of the game, was so crucial in that fight on Blocky Panda. It means that this damage output is lowered and he's not able to just melt targets once they are all grouped up like that. And then it is just TFF methodically turning the fight around and just dismantling Conduit Reapers where they stood. Gav, what are we doing here? Okay, he's alive because Weird Stepper just a little bit afraid to step up there, but Gav on this rel has definitely been in places he shouldn't have been. The dragon spawns is immediately going to be started up here by Conduit Reapers, but we can see now TFF Lich Bane is on their way. This does not go down fast because you do not have a traditional AD carry, and Black Panda is not hitting it. They're into the pit.
Sidge going over the wall, Gav being the only one to stop it. This is going to turn into a smite war. Drake getting so close to going down. Somebody looking for it. It looks like the Zen is going to pick it up as Blocky Panda is biting off more than they can chew. Running into TFF. The stuns are left and right. You cannot ignore Cyclone. You cannot ignore the Mel. You're definitely going to pay for it. Buck trying to dish out the damage, but it's just not going to be enough. Notorious able to pick up at least one kill, but he's almost entirely by himself. There's not a whole bunch to support him. Another stun coming through. Mel picking up more kills.
Yeah, I mean, it looked good for Conduit Reapers. They're able to get the dragon just barely, but they're taking too much damage from the poke, from this Mel, and even from the Ashe at this point in the game. Blocky Panda tried to go in by himself onto 3 separate members and delete this Ashe, but there was enough CC and enough peel from the side of TFF. Oh, Buck is in trouble. Okay, he's going to be able to escape there because they're not pressing any farther forward on TFF, but Blocky Panda tried to get the kill onto Weird Stepbro before the fight really did fully break out, but they were able to peel for him, able to keep him alive just long enough, and then just after getting the dragon and trying to salvage the play, Notorious TLP was able to pick him up, but it's just not enough here at the end of the day for Conduit Reapers. Yes, they get the dragon and they stop the stacking to be even on dragons, but they lose that mid lane inner turret, they lose the team fight, they fall down even more in gold because they didn't get a kill on a single member who did have a shutdown on the side of TFF, and TFF just looking like the better team so far on the day in this game number 1. We had questions a little bit around the Conduit draft, and Blocky Panda has had moments in this game, but he's just not enough so far, and Buck on the Ziggs is not looking ideal, not looking like the Ziggs we expected, as Ish should just win this 1v1.
There's not even really a massive reason to cast it. We do have a TP coming in, but Ish is going to be happy with that TP coming down. But I think Ish can 1v2 this. I don't think there's going to be any problems. This is an 8-0 Mordekaiser on Ish. And all of the wrong people are fed, at least the people that Conduit doesn't want to be fed. The Mel's fed, the Mordekaiser's fed, and they're absolute monsters. And now because of that kill and because of all of that confidence and that gold, it looks like TFF is just going to go for the National. I don't blame them. It's already at half HP, Chung.
And because they TP Linksy down to the bot lane to try to do something to Ish there, TFF immediately goes, okay, we can just start up this Baron with really no worry, because in theory, the strongest member on Conduit Reapers is Linksy on the Scion, so they're just able to start up the Baron. At least Conduit is able to get a mid lane turret for themselves, but at the end of the day, they're going to have to try to stop this push that's going to come out from TFF Lich Bane, and their best wave clear is Buck on the Ziggs and then Linksy on the Scion, but otherwise they have no real existent wave clear. So 1-3-1 should be the name of the game here for the side of TFF Lich Bane. Oh, hold on.
Cyclone biting off more than they can chew, running directly into this Buck. This should be really good. Rebuttal does come down. Ish here for the support, but this can still be worth it. If Blocky Panda is able to pick it, he does grab it. The kill is good. Ish getting even more support as Sejuani makes their way in. Not that he needs it, as he picks up another kill. This is such a fed Mordekaiser, as it looks like Bread spending a little bit more time going in, trying to lock down this, I forgot the name, Zen. Words are hard. And that's more and more kills on the side of Mordekaiser. He's sitting at 10-0. Sure, Cyclone went down, but what a great consultation prize.
Not sure what Notorious TLP was thinking there by running in after Blocky Panda was already dead. You just got to run away from there. You know how strong this Mordekaiser is. Even if she comes out of the Death Realm, you are not winning that fight whatsoever. So be happy that you got at least one big shutdown on the Blocky Panda, but do not sacrifice your life for it. He ends up doing it, and now the two wave pushes coming out while Linksy is just split pushing in the bot lane. They're going to lose top lane inhibitor. Blocky Panda is back. Linksy is able to get a nice bounty there on the bot side and is able to get something for his team, while they are able to defend the mid lane as well. So they only lose the top lane outer, the top lane inhibitor turret as well. Oh, and also the top lane inner. But oh, never mind. The mid lane inhibitor turret ends up falling because Buck roamed over to try to help with wave clear instead of focusing on the wave there. Bread gonna be fine thanks to that super blast cone, but it is starting to look rougher and rougher with how strong Ish is, sitting on 4 items now in this game, the most items completed on anybody so far.
Oh, no, Cyclone maybe overstepping, gonna run into a Scion ult. Scion somehow missing his ultimate, as it looks like Cyclone just sidesteps it and walks away, or blown a flash. Yeah, it looks like they blew a flash. That's gonna be worth it, not getting caught right before the objective. This is gonna be the third Drake, and it's going to be an important one. I doubt Conduit even really wants to contest that, especially if they don't have any sort of number advantage. They do still have the Void Grubs, which means Blocky Panda has a lot of pushing power, has a lot of macro power, and I like this approach for Conduit. They're like, hey, we can't take this objective, so let's use what we have in our strengths, which is going to be these objectives.
It's not soul either, so they're like, hey, we can fight at the next dragon. Let's pick up some of these bounties that are still available to us, try to get some gold back in our pockets. You saw Buck try to steal it away with that Mega Inferno Bomb, but this Ziggs just does no damage at this point. He flashes into the arrow!
Oh no, really unfortunate as Bread follows it up looking for the damage. Notorious trying to buy time for Buck to get out of their redemption coming down, but it's just not going to be enough as everybody continues to fall apart. Rel coming in, able to get an ultimate on 2, trying to lock them down, but Bread is just so takey. They're not doing any damage to the other side. Stun coming in on Cyclone. Cyclone got to worry about Blocky Panda dealing a good chunk of damage. Just one more shot. Blocky Panda does find it. There is still an angle. There is still a hope, but there's just a lot of beef to deal with. Ish comes in to put the final nail in the coffin, going for the other side. This is a very powerful Mordekaiser, and there's no reason to continue the fight. Linky might be able to get out of here. I don't think he wants this fight. Getting caught here could spell their doom.
Turns back to emote at them. No. Linksy turns back to emote at them, knowing he still does have the unstoppable onslaught to get himself out of there. I mean, Now that Buck's back up, they're going to be able to clear this wave. That isn't the end of the game here. Oh, wait, hold on. Lynxie gets hooked, but he's going to be fine. They lose another inhibitor, or the first inhibitor goes down up here in the mid lane. I mean, they get another kill onto Cyclone. They get a kill onto Weird Stepbro. Yes, they lost 4 members in the process, but like slowly but surely, eventually, TFF is going to run out of item slots, and you're going to be able to pick up this gold. And now with mid lane inhibitor going down, that's a free avenue of gold for yourself as well. They're probably going to have to fight at this Baron in 1 minute. I don't see a world where they give this away, and then they're still able to come back in this game. So they're really going to have to try to push out these waves as much as possible and then get ready for this Baron fight in 1 minute. And I mean, we saw how much damage Blocky Panda can actually do if Ish isn't there. But if Ish is there, you're just going into the Death Realm and you do not get to play the game. And then your 4 does not beat their 4. So it really all is kind of on Blocky Panda and not getting pulled into that Death Realm.
Honestly, if I was the coach here for Conduit, I think what I would be telling them is to let the Baron fall to the other side and wait for that small little window to pick up a couple of kills. Because if you're able to get 2 of the Baron buffs down, that has a massive impact. And you have a lot of wave clear. You have a lot of potential to stop the Baron buff despite all of that. You've got Scion, you've got Ziggs. That's a lot of wave clear to deal with. Pink, got to worry about Rel coming in. But Gav, no longer having their stun, their knock up, a little bit of back and forward as Aurelia and Mordekaiser are still in the background. So with Ish being there, this may not be the worst time for them to fight. That's so much gold not being currently in this lane.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to try to push out this mid lane and then walk in, but they're still late on this play. It's just going to be started up immediately by the side of TFF Lich Bane. Blocky Panda isn't there. Both him and Ish do have TP, but I assume this Baron goes down rather quick with how strong Slycolin is. Actually, it's going down rather slow, only at 8k right now. Notorious looking for an angle in, a ward behind the pit. Buck is just throwing out spells, trying for something as TP comes in. Ish is late on the TP. Black Panda going to have to run away here. They're off Baron.
But coming in, trying to lock down Linky. Yes, indeed, it's going to happen as Nautilus is able to get 3 knockups on the other side. Blocky Panda able to walk away. Ooh, Scion might actually be able to make it out of this somehow. They got out. Absolutely phenomenal. But I do think this means that Nasher's going to fall to the other side. But luckily, it didn't cost them any deaths.
Yeah, I mean, the side of TFF took no damage in that fight, but all the damage was done to Lynxie on the Scion, on the side of Conduit. Oh, Buck caught out.
Buck taking a good chunk of damage. The Death Realm is in full effect, locking down that Ziggs as Pink steps forward a little bit too close-ish. It does pick up a kill on Ziggs. A lot of back and forward as Notorious tries to buy some time. The Crescent Guard, it might be just enough, but you still got to worry about Weird Stepbro. Weird Stepbro taking a whole bunch of damage. Cyclone after Cyclone doing a good chunk of damage. Absolutely able to knock it around. Conduit looking in a great shape, but it's just not enough because Ish is absolutely dominant. 15-0 on this Mordekaiser as he picks up another double kill.
Yeah, I think I made Ish a little bit angry with my top lane rankings and not putting him any higher. Absolutely went ballistic in this game. 15-0-10. I think he's going to have the highest damage in this game by far, unless Cyclone somehow manages to outdamage him. But top lane numbers get a little inflated when you do get to hit a Scion for the entire laning phase. But TFF looking poised here in this game. Number 1 came in with a solid draft identity, went for that first pick Mel, and then just knew what to do after that. Played around it incredibly well. Ish gonna try to take down this inhibitor or this Nexus by himself, but they're all respawned. Ish taking a lot of damage.
That's a big shield on Ish, but this is still an entire team to deal with. It doesn't matter how fed you are. It's very hard to 1v5 as Ish gets shut down, unfortunately, by the supports. The worst possible person to pick that up. But, I mean, I guess maybe at least they're tanky. I'm trying to find the silver lining here.
I got him a 3rd item. He's an item ahead of Big Penguin now. I mean, that feels so bad. Oh, man, but that's Ish down for this dragon fight. That is the strongest member of TFF Lich Bane. There's no Death Realm available for this fight at all either, so that means Blocky Panda has the opportunity to go crazy, especially with Exhaust down. Lynxie looking to go in.
There it is. Scion going in, finding a knockup, but once again, Pink is going to take it immediately to the face, making the good guy play support, able to wait out his ultimate. A good chunk of damage going back and forward. Buck able to pick up a kill, but will it be enough? This is their best opportunity to turn things around. Cyclone able to get stun after stun, popping their rebuttal, which is no longer going to be available. Bread going to get locked down by that blocky panda. Aurelia doing a good chunk of damage. Ziggs picking up kill after kill, and this objective should fall to the other side if Ish has nothing to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, Ish going down there is absolutely massive. I mean, if they want to, Cyclone, there's a ward at that Nexus he could have TP'd in if he really wanted to, but the inhibitor had respawned, so they were not able to go for that play. Baron now being pinged out here by the side of Conduit Reapers. Brett is dead for 30 seconds, and then Weird Step Bro and Penguin are the next ones up, so they're going to look to start this one up. They have to be worried about the damage that Cyclone can put out once this is started up, because they will be in a choke point. We can, oh my gosh, Brett going to take, sorry.
Scion going in with the unstoppable, trying to lock down Cyclone, but it's just not enough. And that's a lot of nice early damage. Sure, Zen can slowly health regen it back, slowly lifesteal it back, but it's still a nice chunk of damage right before the Baron, and it does slow them down very much so. And they don't know where Ish is, which is going to be such a big factor. That's a very powerful piece, but we cannot ignore Cyclone. Cyclone's sitting at 13-4, only 2 kills away from the extremely fed Mordekaiser.
Hold on. Conduit Reapers took the Scuttle Crab and then didn't kill the Control Ward in the pit. I don't understand that. That is a choice. I missed that. They took the Scuttle and then just walked away without clearing out the Control Ward, so it just got to stay there for the side of TFF. So they still control vision over this Baron area because of the Baron that it is. I forget the exact name of it, but because it has that wall in front of it, that Scuttle Crab vision area doesn't even get to see when the side of TFF does start it up. So in theory, TFF could just start it right now, and the side of Conduit would have no idea. But it looks like they're not willing to do it. Cyclone is going bot lane to answer this wave. They look like they're just playing for a potential pick before this Baron does start up. Pings are coming out now. It looks like they're finally going to start it up, but that means the side of Conduit is able to walk back in, start trying to clear up some of this vision, get something for themselves here, and post TFF Lich Bane off. I mean, this game is back and forth, believe it or not, despite the kills being heavily in TFF Lich Bane's favor. The Dragons are even. It's only a 3k gold lead at this point in the game, and if Conduit is able to find a team fight, able to get an ace, they have so much standing gold they can take and be able to bring this game back to even and potentially even pick up a Dragon Soul for themselves. So this game is getting incredibly close with how far ahead TFF Lich Bane has been almost this entire game. Oh, Lynxy gonna be okay. It's Scion after all.
I don't think, even with all of the stuns, it's very, very hard to kill. That's a level 17 Scion, and sure, he's not as crazy as the 15-1 Mordekaiser, but the longer the game goes, the beefier he gets. Look at all of that HP. That's a staggering amount. Each dash is, what, 100? So he's got to be sitting right around 3k or more.
I'm curious if our production can click on Scion so we can see how much health he actually does have from this W. Bonus health, almost 1,600 bonus health on this double.
Absolutely. Glacial Air coming in on the background on top of Ziggs, which means he's not here and ready for this fight. So this is a little bit of damage not here for this. The bomb does come in, looking a good chunk, but the problem is you just got to deal with this Mel. You've got to deal with Cyclone, and Conduit just doesn't have what it takes, especially with Ziggs getting locked down along with Notorious falling to pieces as all of Conduit gets slowly picked off and destroyed. That 7k HP may be a lot of HP, but when you get an entire team on you, you get melted very, very quickly. And now Nasher's up for the other side, but they can take inhibs and then go Nasher. They've got a lot of options here, and it looks like that's what they're going to opt for. Move the objectives forward to... Go ahead.
They might just be able to end the game without the Nash itself. It's only Buck here for wave clear, and you have a very strong Ish and Brett as well who can just tank up these turrets, but it looks like they're just going to back off to the Baron now. And I mean, in that team fight, Lynxy did try to get Cyclone. He used the ultimate to try to get into him, but because Lynxy, who is like one of your strongest members, is away from the rest of your team, that means Ish just pulls Blocky Panda into the Death Realm, and then the rest of your team does really no damage after that. So it's just very hard after that, once Lynxy does disconnect from your team like that, to be able to make anything happen. They're gonna attempt to look at this Baron, but Nothing gonna come out of this one. They're gonna. Oh wait, they're TPing in. They're trying to play off
TP.
the recalls.
Coming in, the stun does happen on Pink. The ultimate there for Gav, able to do a lot of work. The rebuttal is no longer up for Cyclone. A lot of damage back and forth. Buck is here to absolutely hammer people down. We got Scion in the front. This is a good back to front here and a good opportunity for Conduit to try and lock it down as Blocky Panda tries to go around the other side. Having a below flash, but their ultimate does lock down almost the entire team, including Bread. Bread's gonna worry about it. Linky dealing a good chunk of damage. Ish here in the background. Somehow Buck able to buy some time, keeping his team alive, but still, there's a lot of gold on Cyclone, and there's a lot of gold on Ish, and neither one of those are down as the entire team falls to pieces on Conduit.
He's gonna be. Brad almost died too. Lixie almost got 2 kills in the zombie form. I don't know why you recall at all. You could just TP it in the game, but recall, spend the gold, make your inventory look a little bit better, I guess, as this should just be the end of the game. Ish gonna tank up these turrets, but he's gonna get stunned up here by Gav and take a lot of damage from this turret. Wait! Oh, I thought he was gonna fall.
Absolutely. There is an angle for Gav to try to get this, and they tried so hard. It was a valiant effort, but ultimately, I think game number 1 is gonna fall squarely in the hands of TFF, Chong.
Yeah, and I mean, that game lasted longer than it should have. With the advantage that TFF had, it should have probably ended around that 30-minute mark, but extending it for 10 minutes is Conduit Reaper. So even though they lose, you have to be in a pretty good mental spot after that, just because you kind of knew you were out of the game. You were just doing anything you had in your possibility to come back into it. And to make it last an extra 10 minutes, despite how strong Ish was on this Mordekaiser and how strong Cyclone was on this Mel, making it go to 40 minutes, you can feel proud about, even though you kind of got decimated kill-wise. Gold was even until the end of game, but TFF Lich Bane, they should not be super happy with this win, with how long it did last, with the leads that they did have, and how strong 2 of their solo laners were. They should have probably ended this game a lot earlier. So a lot to work on here for Conduit Reapers, especially, I mean, you're playing with a sub support who is off-rolled. I've never seen him play support in my life, but like, there's windows for you to be able to take a game off this team, and maybe potentially a series if you're able to just clean up some of your early game plays that really did end up costing you in this game.
Ish taking Chong's words personally, trying to prove him wrong, going 18-1. Such a scary Mordekaiser. 62k. I didn't look at the damage. 62k on that Mordekaiser. Cyclone wasn't too far off, but still, that's an insane amount. Either way, that's going to be the end of game number 1. Keep in mind, this is a best of 3, so we will continue going on to the next game in about 2 to 3 minutes. That's usually about how long it takes to herd the cats into the next draft. We'll see you in a few minutes. Alrighty, Chung, we are back into draft 2, game number 2. Do you have any words you'd like to eat on this one too?
Yeah. How dare these teams start draft before production said they were ready? We got thrown in when we were mid conversation. Loki, I don't want to hear it. I'm defending you. We were mid conversation. We were having a good old time, and then they started draft, and now we're here for game number 2. Conduit Reapers electing to play on the blue side. TFF going to be on the red side. They keep the Urgot ban the same, but now Conduit Reapers
Mhm.
banning away the Jax and the Aatrox away from Ish up in the top lane, who went absolutely ballistic. It literally
Mhm.
was the
Mhm.
carry for the side of TF. Like Cyclone had a great game. Ish being able to just take Blocky Panda away, and then the rest of the team is just able to win because okay. I'm gonna hold my thought as draft wall has died again. So I hope our producer can send me the draft wall link so I can try to update these guys. All right, thank you, Loki. But anyway, we have some mystery bands coming through so far as we wait for everything to get fixed up because Draftball is a great website. There's a reason everybody has switched over to Drafter. Okay, the bans. Twitch was banned away by Conduit Reapers as their final ban, and then TFF kept bans exactly the same. Urgot, Akali, Morgana, and first pick Wukong, who look, I think is the best jungler in the current meta. Some people like Korak himself says it's Xin Zhao. I think having access to 2 cyclones, and then also if you position your clone well onto your backline, also being able to use it as a defensive tool, I think is
Mhm.
insanely valuable. It also shreds armor. It does everything you kind of need. But
Mhm.
Jinx gonna be the pick here for TFF Lichbane, and this is where I would say just pick Twitch into it. Twitch is really good into all these lethal tempo scaling 80 carries, but Twitch being banned away, you're going to have to come up with another answer. Maybe it is the likes of a Sivir or another hyper scaling late game 80 carry. I'm like the likes of Kog'Maw. I would mention Vayne, but nobody plays that champion just because of how low range she actually is. So we'll have to
Mhm.
see what the side of Conduit picks. Also, we do not see the other pick for the side of TFF. It is a Volibear lock in here.
The Volibear is going to be answered with Misfortune on the other side. Misfortune and Braum. A little bit of a weaker combo than a couple of the other options for Braum, but Misfortune cannot be underestimated. That bullet time is very, very powerful. And most importantly, Braum getting grabbed is also great because you don't have to play into Braum's shield, which makes MF kind of useless in a bunch of different ways. So I definitely see the element for there. And Braum's almost never a bad pick. He's just good all around for a million different reasons. And we did get a bit of side swap, I guess, a little item of housekeeping. Conduit is sitting over on blue side, and TFF is sitting over on red side, having the counter pick. So that's important to know going forward. And our last remaining pick so far is going to be Leona Chung.
Yeah, ooh, words are rough there for a second, but TFF going to be picking up the Leona. It is a good answer into Misfortune because you have that long range on the Solar Flare to be able to cancel out that bullet time. But Leona does not have a fun time into Braum. You kind of just do nothing in the laning phase because you can't Zen the Blade forward because he just puts up a shield, and then he can't escape because you CC'd up,
Mhm.
and Misfortune's power at level 1 is absolutely insane. You'll probably just most likely end up dying or having to flash slash heal slash use both to be able to survive. So Leona not going to have a fun time in this lane is kind of more there as a way to stop the Misfortune. I mean, it's okay. I think you could have gone with an enchanter for the Jinx here. If you play like the Lulu or the Melio, I think would have been a good answer into it. But not gonna choose to go with that is Pink Penguin. I mean, I know this guy's pool pretty well. I've been watching him play for a while. I think he could have gone with his Taric here in this game. I think it would have been pretty good with the comp that is already
Mhm.
being drafted by the side of TFF. But just gonna go with the Leona as bans are coming through. We can actually see them this time. I thought we missed one, but no, we're still waiting on Conduit Reapers to go with their other ban. But so far, Conduit Reapers going with another front to back style of team fight here with Wukong, with the Misfortune, just looking to press R's and delete people. While TFF kind of doing something similar, wanting to go front to back. You have the Volibear diving in while Jinx tries to get those resets and get excited and be able to get the kills that way. With Leona having really strong engage potential as did Drefwell overlay freeze again? I think it did. Okay, it did
I think
freeze
it did
again.
because we're into our next set of picks because we have LeBlanc on the other side. I think for the mid laner, LeBlanc coming in, Ornn. So we've got LeBlanc into Ornn, or not necessarily that way, but at least pick order wise, LeBlanc into Ornn, and then we're waiting for the last pick here for this. It looks like LeBlanc and Ornn did finally show up there. I'm not sure if that was prod magic or what's going on, but draft law is just absolutely not working for anyone.
I'm not gonna say it, but I'm staring. I'm staring at you through the screen, Loki. Just know. But the last ban for Conduit Reapers was the Renekton, something that did ban last game. But Cyclone gonna go on the LeBlanc. He had a great game on it last week. I think he went like 13-4 or something like that. Gonna look to do something
Oof.
similar again. Might actually have a tougher time in this game just because of the composition that was drafted for the side of Conduit Reapers. Is really gonna have to find some weird angles to be able to get in there. The best answer also into LeBlanc is point and click CC. Luckily, there is none of that on Conduit Reapers besides the Cyclone coming out from. Okay, sorry. The last. Yeah, the last pick came in, which threw me for a whirl here. It's actually a Mumu as the last lock in here. So it's going to be Volibear top for Ish and a Mumu jungle for singular bread here. So just going for more engage options. My eyes are really on Cyclone on this LeBlanc in this game if he's actually going to be able to get huge value out of this pick. Well, when you get to like level 11, you get to a few items, you kind of play more as a poke mage off to the side, just dashing in and out, throwing out those sigils into the chain combos, trying to get the double distortion damage with the distortion buffs really helping her out in the current meta. That's why we also have been seeing her pop up at Worlds recently.
And LeBlanc is indeed very powerful, but the thing I'm worried about is they are playing into Rise. That Rune Prison does exactly what LeBlanc doesn't want, which is locking them down on top of the Braum passive, on top of so much. And there's not a crazy amount of targets to go for. And I've got to say, in the background, I was praying this entire time. I was telling myself, I really hope this is not Volibear jungle, because I think at this point in my casting career, I think the only thing I hate more than seeing Yuumi in a game or playing Yuumi personally is seeing a Volibear jungle. There's just so many other better options. I think it's good in very specific situations, very specific scenarios, but I've seen team after team lose with Volibear jungle, and I think he's much better in the top lane. I am worried about the fights with Ornn, but he is still in a good position there. And Amumu is very, very good at this elo. He's such a solid choice here going overall. Like once you get up to like the diamond, like the D2, I want to say level and above there, he starts to fall off kind of like a rock. But he's very, very strong here. There's a lot of CC for him to play off of, and it's not like his ultimate's hard to hit.
Yeah, I mean, you said exactly right. His ult is not hard to hit, but can struggle a little bit in this game just because of the comp that Conduit Reapers did draft. Like, if you're going in and you're using that ultimate and your team is not absolutely wiping a team fight instantly, you do not get to escape. You're going to get deleted from the counter CC combination that can come out from Conduit Reapers. And potential damage coming out. I mean, Conduit Reapers really needs to get off to a good early lead in this game just because you did draft Misfortune, who does kind of fall off a cliff as a champion overall. But you do have good scaling with the Rise. Wukong can be a late game carry if he is fed enough in the early game, but really the late game is all on Rise's back, and you need a strong early game to be able to get the Rise to that spot, while the side of TFF Lich Bane, their AD carry is much stronger in the late game, while their mid lane are really strong in that mid to late game area if LeBlanc is effective and is getting off those large burst potentials.
And I really like the meta format that we're going with Conduits. There's a lot for them to play around with. You know, we've got Braum, we've got a lot of front to back to deal with, plus the bullet time. Not a lot to stop to bullet time. You mentioned how powerful and how good the armor shred is on Wukong. All of those are really, really good notions. And Wukong's a very good tempo setter for your team. If you're able to capitalize and go in on Wukong, it's really, really great, especially with Ornn having Call of the Forge God, just calling it in, following up Wukong. It's just such a great combination. Rise to lock people down. It's just a lot to work out for. But I think Jinx can throw a lot of wrenches in those plans just with her, I believe it's called her snap traps, the traps she throws down to stop people off. That can do a whole bunch. Leona can slow them down. I am worried about the LeBlanc, though. So LeBlanc overall, you went into detail, Chung, of how powerful she can be, but there's not a lot of squishy targets for her to go for. Maybe she gets her hand on MF, but if Braum's playing Braum correctly, they're going to be sticking around the MF preparing for that.
Sorry, I was responding to Loki sassing me real quick. But I do agree, but like the squishy member that you're gonna be trying to pick off every fight is this Misfortune, especially before she does get that Bloodthirster, which will probably be her first item. I can see worlds where like Misfortune goes Essence Reaver for that first item, but I just think Bloodthirster is such an incredibly strong item on Misfortune just because you basically never drop that strep passive, so you just get to run around the map wholly the whole entire game. And she also really is good in these kind of like meta swap the lane swap metas that we're in just because of how strong that strut is to be able to reposition yourself. So I mean, it's definitely going to be an interesting game number 2 here, and really curious to see if Conduit Reapers is able to make that comeback and push us to a game number 3, or if TFF is going to be shutting that door on them. We'll find out when we do hit the Rift. We're going to head to a short break here while we wait for the spectator delay to finish up. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in a little bit.
Alrighty, Chong, here we go into game number 2, and this is not a surprise. We have Braum looking for some sort of an invade and looking for an angle on Ish. Ish does not see it coming. He's spending a little bit more time on Ornn. This is a little bit dangerous. The passive does come in. They lock him down, and this is already first blood for Conduit.
Gab!
Conduit coming out swinging.
Gab, what are you doing? He
Dying.
took first blood.
He's dying.
He took first blood. Oh, okay. Regardless of Gav stealing first blood when it should have been on any other member on his team, that was really smartly played by the side of Conduit Reapers. They had Ish not stay with the team and go up and try, or sorry, Lynxy not stay with the team and go up to kind of bait Ish into a fight where he didn't want to like walk away. He thought it was just Lynxy because of how he walked in, and then the rest of Conduit is able to wrap around. They're able to get the Braum Q onto him, and then he's just dead in the water, not gonna flash away. Gav gonna face check now, take a bit of damage here.
Braum going in. The passive is good. They're trying to lock down Pink Panda, but they do have to blow the flash in order to get out of that. So long run, they kind of lost that fight. Braum's got to be feeling happy, though. Braum really wants to get his hands on a melee support and just continue popping those Qs over and over, but they've got to maintain the distance and just continue to throw them over and over or throw them down on weird step bros. So Gap seems to be at least a little bit more comfortable on the Braum than maybe they were the Rel. Oh, Ornn? Okay, I thought we were going to lose Ornn already. Go ahead.
Also, Conduit Reapers didn't recall. Like, Gav, you should just recall. You have 300 gold to spend. That's a cloth armor. That just helps you win the lane more. It's boots. It helps you win the lane more. But just going to be sitting on that gold now until they do take their first recall here. As Buck drops 1 CS on the turret. But overall, the side of Conduit looking a lot better in this early game than they did in the last game, besides Lynxy not having any fun up here in the top lane. And
Well, and I do like this angle. Look at that. Lynxy getting one shot away, having to blow his flash in the top lane and back. This is going to be a very, very rough lane. And this is kind of where the bear shines. The knockup comes through, but will it be enough to pick up a kill? One goes down. Ish does get taken down right there at the end. And at the very least, Ornn got a free back. And something I wanted to point out here is that Rune Prison is already coming in clutch in the mid lane. LeBlanc looking for the kills, but it's so hard when you get stunned.
Yeah, and also, Blocky Panda didn't go for a Doran's item, went for that tier as his first starting item, so wanting to stack that up early and fast. Rise, I don't know how his passive truly works anymore, just because they've kind of reworked this champion like 3 separate times since I started playing, and I don't play mid lane, so I don't touch this champion anymore. I'm not sure if it still is like that AP scaling passive that like the more mana you have, the more AP scaling get. I'm gonna hold my thought.
Leo going in, trying to lock them down. The shield comes through, which provides plenty of time to get for Gav to absorb a lot of these shots. Wukong is here looking for some sort of angle as Amumu makes their way into the mid lane, but not wanting to take the tower dive, and I don't blame them. That Rune Prison is still up and ready to go.
Oh, there's gonna be a collapse on the Scuttle Crab here.
Not a lot of mana on Jinx's side as Leona goes in, taking an absolute hammering, but the number advantage is going to quickly shift on the other side as the bandage rep comes through, trying to lock down the Monkey King. They're looking for the angle as Braum goes back in, able to turn that fight around. That shield is so powerful. Feats of Warfare falling to the other side. Still a lot of back and forward, but Buck just not able to find the damage. If he can get Pink, it might be worth it. He does get his hands on it, but that's going to be a 2-for-3 trade with the Feats of Warfare falling to Conduit.
Gav, you're getting a nicely worded DM after this game. I swear to you, he takes another kill away from his
Oh, he
team.
does!
Yeah,
I
he
missed
took
that.
another one away from his team. Buck is not happy about that one, getting another one stolen away from him. And that would have been much better if Buck got 2 kills in that play and then still does fall down, because then he would be much more even on gold with Weird Step Bro. But because Weird is able to pick up a kill for himself, is even on CS, even on assist, and then is able to also shove in that wave and get more CS for himself, he has a better back. He's on BF sword, while Buck is on that longsword pickaxe. So more raw AD is going to be coming out here as Gav is back here. He's in the mid lane now.
Looking for the rotation, trying to get the clone for Cyclone, trying to lock him down, does force the flash with the help of the Q as Pink comes in from the north side and ultimately turns into an unsuccessful gank on both sides with the flash going down, I think only on Cyclone? Yeah, it looks like only on Cyclone.
Yeah, I mean, Gav with a nice roam timer there out of base. Seems like he learned. Oh no.
Oh, I blinked and I missed some shenanigans as Pink goes in looking for some sort of angle. Cyclone does miss the stun and the tether, but it doesn't matter. Gav taking a whole bunch of damage. That shield is only going to keep you alive for so long as Leona goes back in, able to find a stun, but will he be able to find the kill on the other side as Wukong was waiting in the bush for an
Nice work on the
opportunity to go
backside.
in. That armor shred is real. Buck is here to try to capitalize on it. They do pick up the kill on the block. This is a great angle. Pink left here holding the bag, going to get taken down, and finally, Buck, MF is online, sitting at 3-1, and that's more than a kill per minute at 6 minutes.
Yeah, and I mean, Conduit really bouncing back here in this game number 2, looking good. You have Buck now on this Misfortune, I said needs to get ahead early. Now with double buff sitting at 3-1-2, even on CS, going to be feeling happy about this one, as Notorious TLP is just going to be starting up on this Dragon. Buck is down CS because he roams in that play to get some of those kills, but overall, the side of Reapers feeling pretty good about how this game is going for them in comparison to the first one. And now Dragon just going to be claimed here for them. Is Lynxie going to trade onto Ish here?
And this is something I think that's really to note. Volibear has a very strong early game into Ornn, and we see that he's got a lot of health regen. But Lynxie, the longer and longer this goes, the better and better he's going to do, because he's going to be able to mitigate a lot of that health regen. He does still have to be careful, as we're seeing right now, as Lynxie's just getting absolutely chunked. But this is still Ornn. Ornn's kind of happy with losing lane in a lot of ways. Obviously, if they can get a kill, if they can get the lane taken out, they want that too. But Ornn's such a great option for losing if you need to, or playing behind.
Yeah, and Lynxie going to take a recall here, so he's going to drop a wave. A turret plate should go over to Ish as well. But now we also see the bot lane of TFF is taking a recall, and Reaper's reading the play, knowing what they did last game of lane swapping their bot lane up to top lane. They're actually going to be the ones to do it, as Blocky Panda realm warps and doesn't take it, but the side of Conduit, because Buck is so strong at this point in the game, they're going to be the ones to initiate the lane swap, put their bot lane top for this grub fight, while Weird Stepbro goes bot lane to match up into Lynxie on this Ornn, who is just going to be fine getting pushed in, like you said, and then just farm under turret. But there's much more wombo combo teamfight potential here for the side of Conduit Reapers.
And something I want to note here is, even though it's just one Drake, that one Cloud Drake does make a big difference, especially on somebody like MF and the positioning for Notorious on Wukong. There's going to be key factors to watch out for, and I do think that helped them get into the objective just a little bit faster. And it looks like we're looking for an angle, because there's going to be 2 bottom here, so I can't imagine they want to contest this, which means the lion's share, or maybe all 3 of the Void Grubs, are going to fall to the side of Conduit. So a complete swap of what happened last game.
Conduit doing a really good job here. I'm surprised they're busting out the lane swap tech, just because, I'll say it again, I play an Emerald. We don't even do this. They just send me up there and make me suffer as being level 4 or 5 for a majority of the game to go play for Void Grubs. But, I mean, overall, pretty smart play by them. That's why Lynxie takes a not stellar recall after losing that trade to Ish, just to be able to get to bot lane before that wave is crashed in, so they're not losing out on too much gold on the map and XP. But it means that they get 3 Void Grubs, which neither of these teams are super great at sieging. They kind of need to get a couple kills before they can really start doing damage to these turrets, but Void Grubs really does help with that a lot, and getting the extra Voidling because you have the 3 is crucial. And like I said, Buck did go for that first item, a Bloodthirster, which I think is so incredibly strong on Misfortune, and then you go into like IE second. Oh, Blocky Panda in a little bit of trouble.
Oh, Blocky Panda having to take a good chunk of damage. It's stun after stun into an ultimate, as LeBlanc should be able to pick up a kill, just one shot. No, it's not going to be enough. Somehow Rise is able to live, but here comes the Jinx rocket. Looks like Wukong was able to absorb it, so Rise still somehow alive. Blocky Panda kind of getting lucky in that one, I've got to say.
Yeah, lucky is a nice way to say it. Was that health potions save lives, kids, because he pops them early. He gets to regen just a little bit enough so that final
Look
sigil
at the damage.
is not. Yeah, I that Q is, oh my god. Weird Step Bro already at half HP from 2 Q bounces. Doesn't feel good, but because of the health pot ticking on Blocky Panda, the Sigil is not enough damage to be able to pick up that kill onto him out of Cyclone. Despite being strong at this point in the game, he didn't have the Ludens quite yet, but now sitting on it. But because Blocky's going for this double scaling build with going for Roa and the Seraphs, it's going to be really hard for this LeBlanc to assassinate him in late game team fights.
And something I wanna harp on too is the fact that we have Linksy building up just slowly, sort of scaling over time, getting ever so close to that level 13, which will be really important for Ornn. But Rise is a bit of scale, is got a bit of scale on him as well. So the longer the game goes, the better he should fare into MF, especially if he gets that Rod of Age out and going and just combines it with plenty of items. His tier has helped out with a good portion of the mana, so he's going to have plenty of fighting power. So it's going to boil down to MF trying to kill maybe Wukong, but wanting to take out Buck, and that's going to be a tall order with a Braum being there. And then going back to the Braum, Gav on Braum, if you're a little bit more shaky on support, I think Braum is the perfect example for someone to play on to sort of get their rhythm, get their groove, because his kit forces you to sort of play back.
Yeah, and Braum is like one of the quintessential peel supports just because his whole kit really helps with that. Notorious TOP just keeps channeling the recall and canceling it because he's snuck into this bot lane, is looking to make a play onto Stepbro, but not stepping up because he's taken so much harass from Buck so far on this misfortune. They're going to see TLP in a second on these two control wards they have in this Pixel Brush for some reason, but I mean, Black Panda is going to be in trouble again, taking a lot of damage from Cyclone there, but Bread not responding in time to be able to get in there. So Blocky going to be okay and just sit under his turret, but a big chunk on him before this dragon does spawn as Ish going to proxy the wave, takes a bit of damage there. Dragon started up by the side of Conduit Reapers, and it looks like TFF not wanting to take the fight at this point, just going to let the second one go over, and that is going to be feats to the side of Conduit Reapers in this game. Did I die or did Korak? Okay, I cannot hear Korak right now, so I will just keep talking until I can hear him again.
Sorry about that. I was muted because I'm very, very smart.
Okay, I was like, I was afraid to say something because I thought I had DC'd, and that's why I was just like, did I die? Because I can attest the last time, or it was 2 weeks ago now when I was doing BOL Premiere and I had Loki as my producer. I went robot quite a few times in a singular cast, so I thought it was me again. So I got a little bit worried there for a second. But we're able to figure it out.
No, the streams were going too smooth. I wanted to mess it up, and I think I got that in there for sure.
Sorry, I had a text from work that I had to respond to real quick. Linksy and Ish are just gonna, we're just gonna take turns, Korak, of just like slightly going quiet to make Loki think that we're all disconnecting.
Just completely mess with Prod because Prod's not under enough stress with all the constant things breaking back and forward. Linksy hitting that level 10 a bit behind the Volibear, but really, once again, have no problem playing behind. Here comes the Armor Shred on TLP as well as the Choo Choo Train, but unfortunately, it's not going to be good. Cyclone just so close to not hitting, and the stun comes in, and that's going to be 2 ultimate down as Ish just kind of walks away from the explosion without looking.
Flash! TLP, why didn't you flash? You had it! That was a free kill up there! I mean, 2 ults in trade for 1 ult and not getting the kill feels bad on the side of Conduit Reapers because you a lot of momentum. They're down gold in this game. Not a lot, but they're down gold despite having all the neutral control on their side. Definitely not what I expected. Turret plate's really playing a big favor as Ish was able to claim, I think, 4 of them, as he's probably going to just claim this top turret as well.
Gav picking up a tether, TLP going in, applying some of that armor shred, and look how much that Q did even to Amumu. Pretty close to about half HP with just one small little bitty combo. Gav taking a whole bunch from the other side. There's going to be the bullet time trying to lock them down, but Leo able to stop it with an ultimate of their own. That Solar Eclipse doing a lot of work as Gav unfortunately falls to pieces, but that was a good guy support play, keeping Buck alive. So even though he's down, that is what Braum is supposed to do.
Yeah, but now that means Rift Herald priority is claimed by the side of TFF Lich Bane. Linksy gonna claim this bot lane turret for himself and then can look to TP up into this play, and they could fight for the Rift Herald now that Gav is back on the map. Cyclone has to walk bot lane to respond to this wave, so first move is on favor of Conduit Reapers. We'll see what Linksy decides to do here. As the Rift Herald is started, it's going down slowly but surely. We'll see if Reapers wants to actually go in for this one. You can see they're not going for it yet. TOP was on the Gromp, but now they're going to look for the fight.
Braum looking for the passive there on Pink. Pink maybe overstaying their welcome just a little bit more, but also making a good guy support play, buying his team time to get the objective and to get out as LeBlanc TP's there to the top to run into Linksy. And this is kind of a nightmare feeler here for Cyclone. They should have plenty in order to get out. The knockups do come through left and right, but LeBlanc's just not going to be able to kill a full HP Ornn.
All right. I mean, TLP going for the Gromp, they didn't have vision on it, so he thought he had more time. They end up losing the Rift Herald, but then afterwards, his team was already on Pink Penguin, and then he decides to try to go help them, gets rooted up by the Flame Chompers, but he had an angle onto multiple members on the top side of that fight. I think that was just a missed decision by TLP. I think he should have just gone to the top side of that fight, get a multi-man Cyclone there, and really set up his team for those chase down kills. They're able to pick up one for themselves, so feeling good about that, but they lose the Rift Herald, they fall down more in gold, and they take some bad reset timers, so some big tower damage going down to this mid lane turret as well from Weird Step Bro. We'll see how they're going. I didn't notice how behind TLP was on the jungle item. That should be ticking over once he claims this. No, he didn't have the treat with him. He could go for Krugs to be able to get that enhanced smite, but as of now, if a fight does break out for this dragon, the smite favor is on Singular Bread, as TLP still needs one more camp to have that change over to that 1200 smite.
And this Drake is going to be so important. It's going to be important for TFF to slow down and delay the timer, and it's going to be important for the other side to take it. Shelly does get deployed there on the other side. Tether coming down, locking down the Ornn, but that's going to do little on the other side as Rise stops the onslaught for Shelly. But this is a good opportunity for TFF to try to find some sort of angle, but the problem is Ornn is an absolute beefcake to deal with, and he's getting so close to that level 13 sort of power spike that he runs into. Gav taking a lot of damage, though, from the LeBlanc. That's not too surprising, but he still has plenty of his kits, and we have all of our ultimates ready to go, including Call of the Forge God.
Yeah, Linksy just trying to have space be created here. TLP in the back line.
Wukong coming in. Cyclone is good. Call of Fortune doing the exact same thing. Buying plenty of time for that bullet time to go off as Cyclone goes for Buck. They need to get this kill, but it's just not going to be enough as the redemption comes down. The heal is good. Pink Penguin in trouble. Going to get taken down. Blocky doing so much. Gets a double kill on the other side as Cyclone goes in to try to pick up some of the kills, but only finds death, and that's a quadra kill on the side of Blocky Panda. Rise has got to be feeling good in game number 2.
Cyclone distorted back to his original position, and then the double E into the Q overflow bounce is able to pick up another double kill there for Blacky Panda to put him into the quadra kill. Buck lived for so long in that team fight, got out so much damage. TLP with the snap engage onto the back line, followed it up with the multi-man Ornhorn there out of Linksy, means that Buck gets a full channel bullet time in that team fight. Doesn't even fall to Cyclone until the very end of it. A really well played team fight there by the side of Conduit Reapers, puts them on soul point and really puts them in the driver's seat now with Buck and Blocky Panda at such strong points in this game.
And something I wanted to point out here is something that I brought up in draft, and it's that LeBlanc's going to find it hard to find targets. We saw it right there in that little engagement. Even though I think Buck did eventually go down in that fight. I can't remember exactly. But Gav bought so much time for the entire team and was alive for most of that, despite starting that off about half HP. He bought plenty of time for the other side. And while Cyclone was going for the other side, when they went back over on the other side, Blocky Panda Rise was waiting for them, just absolutely nuking them and taking them out. And that's why it's so hard to play LeBlanc into Ryze, especially because Ryze is only going to get stronger. And now Ornn, sitting at level 12, is getting closer and closer to that 13, just one more level, and then 14 for his first upgrade for the other side. And at this point, you've got so many targets to upgrade.
Yeah, I'm really
Bread
curious.
overstaying their welcome. Gonna take a whole bunch of damage. That armor shred is so good on Amumu, and it looks like we're gonna be able to follow it up. The kill ultimately goes to Notorious. Not a bad strategy, but that was a lot of damage from Buck, who's sitting at 5-2. Had a bit of a poor performance last game, but I think they're making up for it in this game number 2, Chong.
Yeah, and because they get that pick onto Singular Bread, they're able to just immediately turn it into the Otacon. You just have Lynxie pick up the mid wave, so real no threat can come to that inner turret, and Reaper's looking like a revitalized team here in game number 2. Like I said, you got to have good mentals coming into this one after extending that game for as long as you did in game number 1. And they came out of the gates running in this game, able to start it off really strong early, as Lynxie is going to be just fine down here, or sorry, up here in this top lane, as the rotation did come out from TFF, looking to potentially make another push happen, but Lynxie is able to get there first, clear the wave, and I mean, the only thing you could say that Conduit isn't doing the best at in this game is sieging any turrets. But like I said, both teams in this game really have a tough time with full-on siege potential. With the comps that they have drafted, they kind of need to win a team fight with very large number advantage to be able to start taking down some of these structures.
I do think some of this is squarely on the shoulders for Buck, because Buck has a lot of good wave clear, but the thing is the response to Buck over and over has been very good and has been unproportional, so Buck's really struggled for that. The thing I would have liked to see a little bit more is maybe Lynxie looking for the pushes, especially now that they're sitting level 13 and they have those void grubs. You know, if you see the rest of the team and there's just Ish up there in the top, you should have plenty of power at this point to take on the Volibear. Notorious maybe hearing me, looking for a gank potentially top, but thinking better and turning around, and might run directly into Singular Bread. Singular Bread could be in trouble.
Just gonna be okay. Is able to escape there. I mean, really, we're kind of in a lull state in this game until that dragon does spawn in 1 minute and 40 seconds, because the Otacon did fall down, but they're gonna look for a play
Blocky
now.
Panda. Cyclone looking for an angle. Buck has plenty of movement speed to try to get out of this, as we do get a Braum ultimate, but unfortunately it's just not able to hit too many, as a bunch of resources get blown there almost for nothing. But at the very least, Braum is still alive, but Ryze is down a TP as Ish now begins his fight into Lynxie in top lane. Ornn versus the Bear.
Yeah, Cyclone in that mid.
No, go ahead. This fight's not going to go anywhere any fast.
I thought this was going to go for it.
Okay, Ryze gonna get a TP into Call of the Forge God, trying to lock down Ish. Ish using an ultimate in order to stop it, but it doesn't matter because the Rune Prison comes in. So much damage. Redemption also to add insult to injury as Blocky picks up another kill. That wasn't a KS. Giving it to Ryze is such a good thing. Awkward phase should be ending in about 56 seconds because that Drake is finally coming, and it's gonna be such an important objective to go for, Chong. We're so close to that soul point, and look at that damage on Cyclone. That's one ability. Oh no, Pink overstaying their welcome. Gonna try to find an angle there on Buck, and lunge on the other side, and Flash, and actually able to get away. So even though they're down resources, at the very least they're not dead.
Yeah, but a big thing there is they got Buck's cleanse as well, so not gonna have this for this team fight. I mean, Ish does have TP. He will have it when he does spawn, and it is before the dragon. But luckily, in the mid lane, when we saw them try to start the fight on the side of Conduit, Cyclone was able to dodge out both from the Glacial Fissure and the Cyclone itself from the Wukong, funnily enough. But now it's just how are you going to position as Buck in this one, because you have no cleanse.
Walking up to Bread. Bullet time going to get called in. Cyclone doing the exact same thing. Solar Eclipse going to happen directly on Buck. Ish over here in the background, but the damage is way too much for the other side to deal with as Leona gets nuked. She may be a tank, but not in this case. However, Blocky Panda maybe overstaying his welcome. Going to pick up a tether there for Cyclone, but still, LeBlanc has to get out of there as Jinx gets targeted and destroyed. Buck is doing so much damage. That's a triple kill on the side of MF. She's going for the Quadra. She's looking for the Penta. Will it get stolen? No, it's not gonna happen. Buck doing so much better in game number 2, picking up the pentakill.
Don't know if that's the first pentakill of the BOL Platinum season, but it's the only one on stream so far. Buck got to free fire that entire fight. Yes, he didn't full channel the bullet time, but it didn't matter. This misfortune is so strong, and Buck, with the help of his team, just absolutely dominates that team fight. They get the Mountain Soul for themselves. They're going to start taking down some of these turrets, and they are looking to push this to game number 3 after how rough of a game number 1 they had. They look like a different team here in game number 2.
Absolutely phenomenal. Such a night and day difference. We're sitting at about 26 minutes on the clock, or getting close to it. We're 19 to 9, and the gold is 44k to 40. So the gold's not super insane. It's only about a 4k difference. That will matter for sure for a lot of different reasons, but Buck picking up a pentakill is someone you got to watch out for. I was worried about Rise, but Buck is consistently doing an insane amount of damage and shows that there is still a place for MF. Even though MF can be a little awkward, I think, in the meta overall, she's still very powerful, and we're seeing that right here, Chong.
Yeah, I mean, it started out with Buck just having a really good laning phase, which is kind of Misfortune's bread and butter. Nobody can really answer her in damage in the early game, as Gav hits the Baron. I don't think you win that 1v1, buddy, but yeah, Buck just started off the game incredibly strong, and then was able to just carry it over into the mid game. Even though Blocky Panda had that early quadra kill, it's not a pentakill like Buck got, but both Buck and Blocky, oh my gosh, Blocky was just a solo kill there. Is he going, what item is he building? He's got a Negatron cloak and the movement speed health item.
Redemption coming down. Nasher about half HP. We're looking for a fight. That's one bandage down on the side of Singular Bread. Call of Fortune going to get called in as Blocky Panda coming in looking for the Rune Prison. The Cyclone is going to buy them time. Singular Bread and went out from the frying pan and immediately went back in the oven because they weren't done baking. They weren't done getting taken down, and things are not looking good for TFF, because now we could just push mid lane and turn around and take the Baron.
Yeah, they started up the Baron and baited in the side of TFF. Because Cyclone lost so much HP, that means Blocky Panda is able to just TP into that play, and then they're able to turn their focus onto both Weird Step Bro and Singular Bread. Okay, they're just going back to the Baron. I thought they were just ulting and try to end the game. But I mean, also, the big thing in that fight was, yes, it didn't matter in the end because he still lose 2 members, but I think if Lynxie was able to get that Ornhorn off, it would have been much more damage onto the side of TFF. But now the Baron going to be started up here by Conduit Reapers. They should be able to claim this one, no problem. They don't take it the quickest just because of the damage profile that they have drafted between this
Blocky Panda taking a lot of these shots. The tether is not going to be good. Super Deck and Meth Rocket coming in, but it's only going to act as a leash as Blocky Panda has just bought himself so much time as Lynxie goes in. Nasher falls down, and we should be getting a reset for Conduit.
Yeah, and like I was saying, because they were able to, not fall down to the Lynxie Ornhorn, who could have hit multiple members there. That just means that the game does stall out a little bit and prolong for the side of TFF Lich Bane. But now that Baron is in hand for Conduit Reapers, they have the Mountain Soul. The only real way back into this one for TFF is to turtle and then try to win a team fight around this Elder Dragon. But the LeBlanc value has fallen off significantly in this game because of that Mountain Soul. Those shields are so massive. Look at the shield on Buck right now between Mountain Soul and the Bloodthirster fully stacked up. And it was... Okay, he built the Force of Nature here, Blocky Panda did, as his third item of choice. Definitely not what I expected.
I think the angle for it is to add a little bit more beef into LeBlanc, kind of make her even more useless. Because look at it, she's still the most fed on the other side. And if everyone you're running into is absolutely beefy, which between all of the buffs, all of the shields, LeBlanc's just kind of useless. And unfortunately, Cyclone keeps blowing their stuns on the Ornn, which sure is okay, but like you're not gonna be able to do much of that. Call of the Forge God getting called in, looking for a final fight here. They're gonna try to lock on to the MF, but it's just not gonna be enough. There it is. Mumu going in, bullet time happening immediately. Lots of damage back and forward. Cyclone left completely unalone, but they still get taken down either way, as there's only 2 left here to defend this massive push. And I think we are already going to get an end to this game number 2.
Yeah, and I mean, Conduit really coming out in this game, looking like a different team, and so is TFF.
Ish going in, trying to buy themselves a little bit of time, but it's not going to be enough here, Chong, as the Nexus just falls to pieces and Rise does a little bit of a flex alt into the fountain.
Yeah, I mean, Conduit Reapers looking like a different team, but so was TFF. It looks like they kind of switched players like mid-series and they're playing with different nameplates the way this game went. I mean, that's going to make for an interesting game number 3, the way game number 1 went for TFF and game number 2 went for Conduit Reapers. I mean, Buck doing the most damage in this game on a Misfortune and never got to that super late game point where Misfortune value kind of falls off. They were able to get Misfortune to a strong point and then able to close out the game quickly before they got outscaled by this Jinx. And also Blocky Panda on this Rise 6-0-12 had an incredible game for himself. Really helped carry that mid game for Buck when he was kind of not at the strongest point around that dragon fight where Blocky did pick up the quadra kill, and they were able to just start dismantling the side of TFF and able to come away with the game win.
Conduit truly waking up into game number 2, and just everything went as best as you probably could expect for the most part throughout the game, and doing so well. That does tie up our score, and we are going into a best of 3. So the tiebreaker, the match point is coming up, which will be game number 3. Make sure to catch us then. We should be going into about a 2 to 3 minute break, allow people to run to the restroom and herd the cats into draft, but we'll see you in a few minutes. Alrighty, and this is what we've been waiting for, Chong, moving into game number 3. Keep in mind, everybody watching, that we will have to point out that there's plenty of, wow, I cannot word today. Fearless, that's what I'm trying to say. Words are happening, things are going on. But keep in mind, the Fearless picks are over on the left-hand and the right-hand side, which means these pools are getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and by the time that this is over, 25 champions will no longer be picked, or will no longer be in the pool overall, which doesn't sound like a lot, but at the lower levels, it really begins to matter. And we're starting off with a bunch of common bands that we've seen before: Yorick and Jax.
That's a weird looking Yorick. That looks like Urgot to me, Korak.
Oh, you know what? Leave me alone, man. It's been a long day. I can't even say it's been Monday. It's Monday. I don't have an excuse, but the sun was in my eyes. The wind's blowing too hard. What's another basic excuse I can make? But not Yorick. The other Yorick. Everyone knows the alternative Yorick, Urgot.
And sides going back to what they were in game number 1. So TFF going to be on blue, Conduit going to be on red. The invisible missing ban is Akali again, not going through for the side of TFF. They do not want Black Panda to have that, and I don't blame them after how he played on the Rise in game number 2. I can only imagine how he would play on the Akali if he got his hands on it, but we get to see that ban, and then we don't get the third Conduit ban, which is once again the Twitch. So keeping their bans from game number 2. The only ban that has switched up the series so far, I believe, is the Gwen coming in. I cannot remember what was banned before that. I'm going to go back and check.
I do think Gwen is a good ban to capitalize on. Neither side wants to have to deal with it. Gwen's very, very powerful. And we're looking at our first hover, looking at our first pick, Chong, and it looks like it's going to be Kaisa to start us off.
Yeah, so the champion that ended up being left up is that Morgana that TFF has been banning away the entire time. So I'm curious if Conduit does want to pick that up, but you get the kite. I swear to God. I swear to God.
It's your favorite mid, Chong. It's your favorite mid. They're gonna
No,
pick it.
no. My fear is now there's a Sona being thought about now, and that's what Loki was screaming about, because everybody knows how much I love Seraphine Sona. But they pick Poppy, and I'll take that. Poppy's a fun champion. We saw Kael have the craziest play ever with the Poppy W when Akaisa did try to ult in, cancels it out because it is a dash, and you actually know where she's landing if you pay attention. There's a little shadow of where Kaisa's going to land when she does ult in, so if you get that steadfast presence up, you cancel that out, and then you can just CC her down. But Kaisa being locked in is definitely interesting, considering like all these super good dive jungles aren't available anymore, with Xin and Wukong being taken out already. So curious to see where they go with the jungle. You still have Jarvan as an option if you want to play with that heavy dive presence, which is what TFF looks like they're already going to do with picking that Ambessa. But that also means that this Poppy can just go top lane and try to kind of neutralize the Ambessa with that steadfast presence. So really curious to see where the flex of this Poppy ends up going. Also curious to see where the Seraphine goes. If it is for the mid lane, APC, support, I mean, I know Buck. He's a Seraphine player. So.
Oh, they heard you. We're looking at the Sona. Maybe this is a Sarah Sona Fiend, or Sona Fiend, Sarah Sona bottom. The possibility is still there. At the very least, their hover is going to provide a whole bunch of blood pressure on the side of Chong.
Loki, did you DM Finny? I swear. Okay. We don't get to see the lock-in, but it's a Garen. It's not
It's
Sona.
Garen, yeah.
Thank God. Ivern.
Sona's still on the table.
No, it's not. It's not. I swear. Yeah, okay, of course you did. Of course you did. Loki told him to hover it. She wanted that to happen. But the Ivern is picked here for Singular Bread. I do think Ivern is very good, especially with melee carry top laners, because they get the free movement onto whoever you do hit with that Q, that root caller. I think it's incredibly strong. It's very smart to go for that. So I do like that. As Draft Lull is bugged again. So the first ban that came through in phase 2 for the side of TFF is Silas. And then the first ban for the side of Conduit Reapers in phase 2 is the Lulu, which is interesting. When I think of Kaisa, I don't think of enchanters. I think of engaged supports. Nautilus, Leona, Rel, stuff like this, Alistair even, but not going for that. And then Renata is the other ban.
So the idea with Renata, right? Renata is a great anti-engage. So if they're worried about Mbessa, if they're worried about Kaisa, that is a good option to sort of deal with it. But denying it from themselves, I feel like is a little weird. Sure, it can slow down Poppy, it can kind of slow down Garen, but it's not going to stop Seraphine. It's not going to stop a lot of these artillery champions. So it does seem like a weird choice, but maybe they just had personally a bad experience with it, especially because Renata's ultimate is still very, very powerful. And now we're looking at a TF. I haven't seen TF in some time.
I think the last TF I saw was in LCK playoffs, if I remember correctly. I think it was put out in one game. I don't like the TF with the Conduit draft just because it feels like they have no damage besides for Garen if they do lock this in. Okay, they're just hovering a bunch of stuff right now. I'm not going to talk too much about it. And it's Blitzcrank.
Okay. We're going with Blitzcrank. So potentially, well, I guess we don't know who the ADC is. That is going to be Jungle Poppy, which I think is better. Even though I like Support Poppy, Support Poppy can be very, very powerful. Jungle Poppy gives you a lot more room to navigate, and they just have such great like level 2, level 3 ganks. So I think that's a good combination here. We're going to answer that potentially with Alistar. Alistar's a really, really solid choice. I do like that. And the thing that's nice is if this is Gav on Blitzcrank, I doubt Blitzcrank is anywhere else but support. But if this is Gav on Blitzcrank, it doesn't matter if you don't land your hooks. You just need to land 1 or 2 throughout the game because they can change the game in your favor. Right before an objective, right before a major fight, it can really do a whole bunch of work. So you just constantly have to worry about that. And the pressure from the pull is always really, really powerful. So if the wards aren't down on the side of TFF, we may already get a first blood on the side of Conduit.
I do like the Blitzcrank pick because you also get that free shield break with that ultimate, and there is a lot of shields that can come out from the side of TFF on the Yone, the Ivern, and the Mbessa. But also,
Mm-hmm.
he's gonna have a tough time this game of landing crucial hook because there's a Daisy to block them. Alistar as well will give Alistar free engage. Yone can snap back now if he gets hooked in. You kind of don't want to hook Mbessa into your backline and give her free access to that either. You're really hoping to hit these hooks onto Kaisa and hoping for the best. They're not going to do it. They're
And
doing it.
looking at this, right, it's interesting we get Blitzcrank, but we also have Yone on the other side. And my theory has always been that Yone is the Blitzcrank of mid lane to where he can do really, really bad. But if he gets 1 or 2 good ultimates, he gets 2 or 3 people, or even better, the entire team, it'll just turn a game, it'll turn a fight, it'll turn an objective completely around. So I do like this interaction, but I am worried about the early game for Yone unless they're able to get some sort of lead or ahead. And looks like we did get our final pick. It's going to be Renekton. That's not showing up on the thing for some reason.
Yeah, Yone not going to have a fun early game whatsoever with this Renekton pick. This is the old school Showmaker counter pick into Yone. Renekton absolutely feasts on him. You eat through his shield with your W. You can trade back so much damage onto him before he can really trade it back onto you effectively. So really curious to see how Blocky Panda is going to be playing on this one. But also because you picked the Renekton for mid lane and you don't put the Seraphine there, that means you don't have a traditional marksman. So sieging becomes a whole lot harder. You have strong split push though with Garen and Renekton, but sieging turrets as a team is going to be rough in this game for your comp. It's also going to be rough for the side of TFF just because they are low range. Once again, it's not an ideal siege comp for either one, so they're both going to have a rough time. So Grubs is going to have immense value this game because both teams have 2 strong side laners, TFF having the Abessa and the Yone, Conduit having Renekton and the Garen, but also just general siege. It's going to be crucial for that. But definitely an interesting draft here coming out from Conduit Reapers for this game number 3. I mean, if Buck can get ahead on the Seraphine, because you're building full AP, the healing and shielding that actually does come out from that double W is massive in these team fights and can really turn them around. But also, you have so much shield break for this Ivern. It can be a really rough game here for Singular Bread, but Pink Penguin on this Alistar. I love Alistar, but he is their only engage in this game. He has to be on point unless Cyclone is hitting a multi-man ultimate or you're getting a clutch ultimate coming out from Ish in the top lane on this Mbessa. It is all on Pink Penguin to make these engages, while Conduit has so many other options. You have the Seraphine ultimate, Poppy stuns, Blitzcrank pucks, Blitzcrank pulls, Renekton getting a flank into a stun onto a key member. So Conduit has more options, while TFF is kind of linear in how they're looking to start out these fights.
See, and I actually think that's where I disagree with you, Chung, because the fact that the other side has Ivern can throw a shield down and Mbessa can start a fight. Ivern can throw a shield down and Yone can start a fight. I doubt they're going to throw it down on Alistair, but they can follow it up with Kaisa and plenty of other options to where they don't have a lot of traditional engage. There is a lot they can play with, especially because that shield gets so powerful later on, especially if we tie it with redemption. So they get in there, they time the redemption on time, and about the time the shield's down and they've taken a bit of damage, redemption comes in, and so there's a lot of team fight potential. But I do agree with you, having Blitzcrank on the other side, having a lot of the catch that's on the other side, having a lot of the stuns are going to be a lot to watch out for. And I think something that's going to be important to keep your eye on is the Encore by Seraphine. This is going to spell a lot of the doom because Seraphine wants people to run into you, like run into themselves so they can Encore and just knock everything up for the team, and that'll provide them so much space to do that, Chung.
Sorry, I have to send a death threat to somebody. Anyway, yeah, I do agree though. Like those encores can be massive in these team fights. It really all depends on how they actually get used. But you have so many effective ways to have that continue through multiple members. So definitely going to be interesting when these team fights do break out. If Cyclone can get a massive ultimate onto multiple members, it can just be an easily one team fight for TFF, but it's going to be rough for either side in this game, I do think. I think it really comes down to how they play out these team fights. It's another front-to-back team fight for both sides. There's more dive potential on the side of TFF because you do draft that Kaisa, but overall, really interested to see how these teams play once we do hit the Rift for game number 2.
And with that being said, I think we've ran out of things to yap about. So unless Prod tells me otherwise, we're going to go into a small break while Spectale ticks down. Alrighty, Chung, and the wait is over as Game 3 rolls onto the screen. Blitzcrank already starting off strong, looking for the hook, and that's going to be 2 flashes down on each support, but they both have Hexatech Flash going forward, and the lane should, at level 2 anyways, should favor the side of Pink and Weird Step Row.
I would have liked Summoner Spellbook in this game for both supports. I'm gonna be honest. I think the laning doesn't really matter for either side. You have a non-existent lane as Kai'Sa Alistar. You guys are not strong, levels 1 through 3. You have a Seraphine on the side of Conduit, so you're really not looking to go with all-in fights for this. So I think this would have been perfect Summoner Spellbook for both supports. Also, on the side of TFF Lich Bane, you don't need to build the Redemption this game as Pink Penguin on the Alistar, as you're going to have it on Singular Bread on this Ivern. But I think Gav should still be looking to go for it as his first item. I think Redemption is just still the strongest support item in the game. I was yelling at a Platinum support earlier today who shared Scrimbucks with me, which Scrimbucks are kind of irrelevant, but he shared them with me. And,
the hook comes through, trying to lock down the ADC. That is a good chunk of damage, but Pink, at least having the knockback, despite not being level 2, is going to buy time for Soraka. Exhaust coming down, Buck taking a whole bunch of damage, but still, this is going to be a lot to watch out for. The flash comes out, and the first blood comes through. Actually, for Seraphine. That's not who I thought would pick that up.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked at that one. And now Kai'Sa just on the run here, doesn't even get to touch the lane now. So the side of Conduit Reapers kind of picking up where they left off somehow. In the Blitzcrank Seraphine lane, where I didn't expect many action, are able to get a 2v2 first kill. Is Gav might just hook. Yep.
Oh, yeah, hooked immediately into Glacial, doing so much work for Blitzcrank and for the other side. And I really thought it was Seraphine that fell to pieces. So it's very weird that it was the other side. But I appreciate what the idea is. They go, essentially, hey, Alistar is not a champion until he hits level 2. Let's capitalize on that. And so they did. And they found a lot of good hooks on Blitzcrank. The Glacial popped off left and right. And that's kind of the thing that's nice about Blitzcrank is you could be really bad at him. But if you just get a couple of good hooks, it changes the dynamic. It changes the game over and over. But now we do have a level 2 Alistar, so there should be a paradigm shift.
Yeah, and that's just over-aggression by Weird Step around Pink Penguin. Like, if you're drafting Alistar, you should just be like, I'm not a champion until level 2, and then I'm not really a champion until level 3, until I have my full kit. Like, you just are willing, you have to concede wave prio, and then just be willing to get that level 2, and then look for your potential back into this lane. But they don't go for it. They try for the all-in early after a nice hook by Gav onto Weird Stepper, puts him in a bad position, uses Flash and Barrier. Exhaust, they also used by Pink Penguin, but Buck smartly waited it out before he used that double Q to get a huge amount of burst damage there, and starting off strong, has the tier a Amplifying Tome and just gets the TP back to this lane, which he didn't necessarily need the TP back to this lane because it's being frozen by Pink Penguin and Weird Stepper right now, so he could have just saved that and just walked back and been fine, but TP's back as Gav is looking around the map for a little bit of action for himself.
And this is one of the first real rotations. A lot of these supports have been happy just kind of sticking down bottom for various different reasons. So I do appreciate the effort from Blitzcrank. That is a powerful tool that you can use. But right now, you've got to worry about the problem. Alistar going in, finding the knockup, but it looks like the slow's going to come in for the side of Weird as the stun for Pink does come in. The flash going as well as Bread comes in and helps pick up a kill. And once again, Gav grabs a kill for the other side, firmly believing in securing the kill.
Yeah, I mean, Buck got a little bit aggressive there. Like I said, he TP's back when he didn't need to. So now he doesn't have that TP for himself to get back to this lane to pick up that CS. But then also just, like, tries to walk forward to, like, pressure them not to have the freezes. Lynxie.
Oh. Lynxie getting so close to going down, about 1 AA from getting destroyed as Blitzcrank grabs another pull, taking Bread in, but Bread returns it with a stun of their own. That's going to be 2 Glacials back and forward, but most importantly, that back is delayed just a little bit more, which should help put him behind.
It also stopped Stepbro.
Is he going to do it again?
Oh, he ignited and it went through, but it was probably in that last 0.01 seconds where you still get the recall off, but because Gav hooked Bread, it stopped Weird Stepper from recalling. So that means Buck and Gav just get to push this wave in, can pick up a turret plate here for themselves potentially, but Gav not hitting the turret, so they're not going to be able to pick up this first turret plate until the second wave comes in. but Weird Stepper going to be back. Right now we can see Pink Penguin not bot lane. So Weird has to play a little bit safe here. Doesn't want to get hooked and potential comboed out. But also, one thing I didn't know is because you're running Glacial here on Blitzcrank, you don't need the double spell for Buck to get a root on that E because you have the slow field coming out from that Glacial as well. But overall, kind of a slow-paced early game besides a little bit of action in bot lane. Right now, it looks like Dragon going to be looked at here by the side of Conduit, but like we saw in the first game, they do not take dragons quickly with having an APC, not an ADC, not really good at taking these neutral objectives early in the game.
They do have a Blitzcrank to sort of pull and catch someone out, so that's a bit of a difference on their end. And I really like the 1-2 punch here between Blitzcrank and, of course, Seraphine. Those stuns and root can really compound, as it looks like TDP maybe overstaying their welcome, absolutely trapped inside the jungle. Buck and Seraphine are here. We do have at least 3 down on the other side as Bread is getting so close to going down. A lot of damage back and forward. Cyclone once again finding a pretty decent ultimate, trying to lock people down, but it looks like he might just get taken out for his trouble, trying to dodge a few shots, trying to dodge a few roots as Pink tries to go in. The feats of warfare are going to get claimed by Kaisa. They do have an angle. They do have a spot. Can they lock down Gaive? The good chunk of damage back and forward from Blocky Panda as they get close to destroyed. And that's going to be 3 kills already on Weird Step Bros, sitting at 3-0 with the feats of warfare.
Yeah, you do not want to give 3 kills early to a Kaisa, but Blocky Panda does pick up 2 kills for himself. TLP very overextended in the enemy jungle and just gets caught out. The rest of the team does try to come in, but Cyclone lived for so long, got a huge ultimate out in that team fight, ends up falling on the back half, but Black Panther takes so many turret shots, he ends up falling as well. But Kaisa now sitting at 3-0 is not what you want in an early game. She is much more of a mid to late game style of AD carry, but now having 3 items is going to be, 3 kills is going to get very accelerated in this game, going to be online a whole lot sooner and can cause so much damage, especially if you're going for that AP build. Where you get the triple evolve. Oh, hold on, Lynxie is going to be okay, just going to walk away from this one. But if you get that triple evolve, that W poke is massive in this game.
Looks like Drake, the first Drake, is going to fall to the other side as Void Grubs spawn on the other end. Ivern is already there, dishing out, dealing a little bit of damage. I actually don't know how Ivern's supposed to do into the Void Grubs, but I know his clear is already really strong. Yone is going to do a bit of rotation to try and help those, and getting those Void Grubs will be pretty helpful for their side. We both mentioned how there's not a lot of pushing power. There's not a lot of tower taking, a lot of the siege position, so grabbing these Void Grubs I think is going to be way more important than losing that first Drake for sure, and already the lion's share is falling over to the other side.
Yeah, and I mean, it's very good to be able to trade these neutral objectives because that fight did break out and Dragon wasn't taken by either side. So that means both neutrals are up at the same time in the game, which means you can trade 1-for-1 on them. And I think in this game, Void Grubs can be a whole lot stronger, but we saw how effective teams have been in this series with Dragon stacking once they do get that first one. Maybe not so much in game number 1, but game number 2 when Conduit Reapers got that first Dragon, they just had a swift 4-0 Drake take. So we'll see if they'll be able to do it again, or if TFF giving over that Dragon, going for the Void Grubs is going to be enough for them in this game. And my eyes are on... Oh, hold on.
Oh, Ivern looking for a stun. Did pop his ultimate, and we do get a little bit of a delay here. Poppy finding some value, actually flashing out the Alistair combination as a TP comes there in the mid line, but they're going to run directly into Cyclone, which may not be the one. Seraphine maybe getting a little bit too close, taking a whole bunch of damage. Alistair getting a massive knockup, followed directly into Yone. This is not what you want to see. It's CC after CC as Poppy takes a tower shot, everybody falling apart, and it looks like Blitzcrank left here holding the bag, going to get taken down, and one of the only ones to walk away are the Gator. Is the Gator? Words are hard.
Yeah, I'm just kind of stunned from that TP from Buck there into the middle of everybody. I mean, Silver Lining, Bread got both of those kills, but like, an accelerated Ivern is a scary Ivern as well, just because you get those strong enchanter items earlier, and Daisy is a threat, actually. Daisy does so much damage. Even when you build full supportive as the Ivern, like Daisy is a 6th champion, but Weird Step Bro 403. Cyclone doesn't have any kills, but sitting on 5 assists has been effective in these fights. But the Seraphine just not going the way of Buck so far in this game. 1-3-2, down CS. I'm curious what the gold advantage right now is for Stepbro, if we can get a toggle on that, if possible.
And I did mention in draft how I
Gold
thought the
difference.
Ivern setting people up and Yone starting these fights has been a good indicator. And so far, Yone has really helped out a ton in these fights, even if they're not like the real MVP. Kills going over to Kaisa. Buck overstaying their welcome, running directly into the Alistair. Gav pulling back the cowl, but it's just not going to matter because this should be a dead Buck as the 6th member tries to pick it up. But luckily, it goes to Kaisa, who's sitting at 5-0 at 11 minutes.
And almost 1.5K gold lead at 11 minutes in the game is not where you want to be as a side of Conduit Reapers. Weird Stepbro is having a game for himself so far on this Kaisa after picking up the first 3 early kills of the game. Now sitting 5-0-3. Luckily, Pink Penguin is the one who gets hooked there. If Weird Stepbro got hooked, wouldn't have felt great already on that Yuntals here. I mean, this Kaisa is just going to be massive for the side of TFF Lich Bane, and they're going to be playing around him well the way they have been so far, punishing Buck and Gav again there in the bottom lane. Buck didn't have flash. They were able to just immediately go down there and punish it, and now that means Dragon control should be in their favor. I would like to see them put their bot lane, mid lane at this point, just to have full control over whatever neutral objective that they do want, but it looks like they're going to do that now. Are they in the call with us?
The team is within the call. Cyclone going back and forward. Alistair, I think, waiting on an item in order to complete his back. So his back getting stopped may have not been the worst thing if he was already waiting to get a little bit of gold. Cyclone going down about half HP, but a lot like Blitzcrank, it doesn't really matter. He doesn't need to start the fight off with an amazing amount of HP. He's got a lot of healing, at least in the terms of items, plus a shield. And that knock-up that we've seen time and time again has really turned a lot of these fights around. But we do have to worry about Blitzcrank. He's looking for a hook. Hex attack going over the other side, but unfortunately, it's just not going to happen as Pink does it again. Looking for another angle, trying to lock people down. Poppy trying to pull people to the wall. There is the encore by Seraphine. But once again, Cyclone able to pick up a massive ultimate. Will it be enough to turn these fights around as the Alistair absorbs so many of the shots, and Renekton getting targeting, but so close, still not going down over the other wall. The Blitzcrank doing a good chunk of damage. Notorious looking for a kill, but gonna find death in for their trouble, and that's a 1-for-1 trade as just the 6th member gets deployed, marching its way over to Blocky Panda.
Oh, Pink Penguin might actually fall down. Okay. I mean, good. Oh, no!
What did I miss?
Gav got sniped by the Void Seeker and falls down. Weird Stepbro picking up another kill for himself. I think my only issue with that fight is Buck never used the double W. He was always saving it for the Q or for the E, but now TP comes out from Blocky Panda. They're looking to punish Weird Stepbro.
The stun is good, but you are fighting a Kaisa under tower, but it will be worth it if they can just get the kill. Buck walking forward, trying to get the Q, finally getting a shutdown and some gold in their department, so that should be helpful, but I think they actually died. Yeah, Buck died.
He got executed, though, so you take that.
Oh,
you take that,
okay.
Buck. Horizon Focus first item? What is this build?
It's a build.
You are allowed to build items in League of Legends, and that is one of them available.
Oh, Lynxy.
Oh, nice flash!
Oh, okay. Sidestep. Lynxy, once again, I think that's the 2nd time just this game alone they've been able to walk away from just so little HP as Ish to prove me wrong. Caster Curse coming in for Korak, picking up the kill on Lynxy, and now they can begin to hammer the top turret with those really, really powerful Void Grubs.
That was such a disrespectful recall by Lynxy. Literally just sat next to the turret after Bailey escaping, and then Ish just goes, all right, flash W, I guess. I mean, back to the team fight that happened earlier where it lasted a long time. Like, Buck never used the double W, and I think if he did, the fight would have looked a lot better for Conduit Reapers. They would have had a lot more health. They would have been topped off more, and they probably could have gotten a couple more kills before, like, everybody got super low. But now Dragon started up. I'm going to hold that thought, as it is a double pincer move here for the side of TFF.
Pink going in, but that's kind of exactly what he wants. As soon as he goes in, Poppy knocks him out, so the number advantage is on the other side, but we're going to get the deployment of Daisy. Objective ultimately falling to the other side, and TFF kind of awkward in this. I feel like they should have fought that fight. Gav looking for an angle, trying to lock down the other side as a flash goes over the other side. TP coming in to provide. Look at all that damage as Gav melts before our eyes, and it turns into a longer fight as TPL gets caught over here on this other side, absolutely taking them down. They may have not gotten their hands on the objective, but that is going to be a nice 2 kills. They do need to stop these Drakes, though.
Yeah, they got a little bit aggressive there, going for weird step route again, and nice use of that killer instinct actually gets him away from the root coming out from the Seraphine, and then they're just able to pick off the kill quickly onto Gav. Like I said, this Kaisa is so incredibly strong, just immediately deletes the Blitzcrank off the face of the earth, and then Cyclone manages to get the knockup on the TLP because he walks into it. And then TLP tried to turn it around onto weird stepper there, but the shielding coming out from Singular Bread is too strong, able to stay upright in that one. It was a nice dragon take, knocking away Pink Penguin, so the engage is impossible for the side of Conduit, sorry, for the side of TFF, but then Conduit just overstays and overextends and then gets punished for it on the back end. I mean, turrets are in favor of TFF. I didn't see the bot lane, or the bot lane one went down. We saw that. The top lane one fell 2-ish up there by himself. And I mean, TFF looks like they're controlling the map better, but the dragon stacking is in favor of Conduit. We'll have to see what ends up happening at this third dragon. But before that, there might be a Rift Herald fight. But I think Conduit should just smartly give this one away. They are not in a position to be fighting this Kaisa at this point in the game.
It is kind of a hard objective to get because most of the macro-oriented neutral objectives have gone to the side of TFF, so losing this will be strong, and then they are positioning for some sort of fight as Shelly goes down to about half HP. Pink, once again, getting blasted away from his team, but Shelly should get a reset, which will provide plenty of time for them to march their way back and try this objective. I think if TFF does not contest this, this is going to be a bit of a problem. The stun coming in, the locking down the root, but Poppy able to stop the dash on the other side as Ambessa tries to go in, but the hook actually works for her advantage. Redemption coming down, looking for the healing. Lots of back and forth as Lynxie goes in, picks up an exhaust, and a good chunk of damage. And Bessa gets the knocks up. Kaisa gets the kill, and now all of Conduit is on the run as Alistair does it again, getting another knock up, trying to get his combo, and indeed it's gonna happen. Cyclone following it up as a double kill happens on the side of Yone, and Daisy absolutely duking it out there between the Blitzcrank. So support versus support is what I'm going to call it, and now Shelly should fall firmly in the hands of TFF.
Yeah, that hook by Gav. I said if he hooks an ish, it can be an issue for the team, and it exactly was. They use the steadfast presence to try to stall him out, but it's just a little bit early. Cyclone luckily dodges out of that hook. But like the steadfast presence just comes out a little bit too early, as does the Keeper's Verdict. I think they use that way too early, and then the Herald resets, which, like you said, lets the side of TFF walk back in there and still contest for it. I think you got to hold that longer as TLP, or just immediately look to burn down the objective. But now Kaisa on 2 items, has that Gwynsu's, has that Yuntal, which probably is close to fully stacked at this point in the game. And I mean, Buck went for a more supportive style of building that Horizon focus first, but like, I just am not the biggest fan of that item as your first item. I just don't really think it does a whole lot as an individual item. I think you need more to assist it. But it's becoming rougher and rougher for Conduit in this game number 3 with the draft that they have and with how TFF has been playing this game.
And I want to say between Cyclone and between Pink going in and just getting these constant knockups, the CC has just been absolutely devastating. Pink has had so many good knockups on the Alistair. You mentioned how powerful it is, and once again, I think we're seeing that. So I tend to agree with you on that side. I think Blitzcrank's a little bit weaker right now, just sort of in general. Alistair is in a better spot, in my opinion. Not that Blitzcrank can't find something happening. We do have to worry about a little bit of fight over here as Blocky Panda might be biting off a little more than he chew. Uses the plant to try to go over to the other side. Cyclone having a harder time locking him down as Daisy and Cyclone try to do the chase, but ultimately Renekton is able to make their way out as Ish and the Lynxie have rotated for the bot lane.
Yeah, and it just kind of feels like the Conduit draft isn't working out. Like, the Renekton and the Garen aren't strong enough in this game to really exude a lot of pressure that forces the side of TFF to come answer them. And then just like the 3-man versus 3-man, the Ivor and Alistair and Kaisa is so much stronger than the Blitz, Poppy, Seraphine that even if like a 3v3 fight does break out somehow, it's going to favor TFF immensely. And then a full 5v5 is just in favor of TFF the way they've been playing so far. Gav getting rooted here.
There it is. Gav taking a good chunk of damage. However, he can take a lot of it as the verdict once again comes in on the Alistair. I think that's the third time it's hit Alistair, maybe even in a row. It is an important tool to use. Ish looking for an angle, but Poppy does have an anti-engage as Shelly gets deployed in the middle.
Yeah, and now Dragon is going to be the sights here. Red?
Okay. That was a move.
You're not allowed to drive the Herald anymore. Your driver's license has been revoked. But
you're drunk,
Dragon
Ivor, and go home.
Yeah, I mean, the Dragon is the focus here for both teams, but right now, the river control is heavily in favor of the side of TFF. As the side of Conduit, you need to push out this mid wave and try to look for it, as they're going to get a stun onto Pink Penguin, but it really doesn't mean much. You have to control mid wave to be able to walk in at this point as the side of Conduit. Also, you can just give over the Dragon. You already have two. This is just the first Dragon of the game for the side of TFF. You just have to be worried about them going for the Otacon after. We see Blocky Panda taking a recall now. He has a TP of his own to try to enter this fight, but Cyclone has one as well. Vision control heavily in favor of TFF, so there are much more flank angles that he can try to come out from and really get into the back line of the side of Conduit. But Dragon isn't even started up by anybody yet. It's just kind of trying to control these waves to get pressure. Gav luckily does get a recall off after taking a lot of damage, but Dragon is not started by anybody. Both teams feeling hesitant about taking the fight and potentially getting it started, as we see Cyclone is the first one to TP as Blocky is back up in this top lane. Dragon now started up.
And whoever wins this fight will not only get their hands on the Drake, but can potentially get their hands on this Otacon. However, we need some sort of number advantage, even though the gold is firmly in the other side. Pink looking for an angle, trying to lock down the Blitzcrank, and then there comes in the Exhaust to try to buy the rest of the team a little time to make their way in there, but it might actually be a mistake that Exhaust is such a powerful tool that is no longer being used, and I'm not sure you want to spend your time chasing this Blitzcrank.
Yeah, luckily Blitzcrank escapes. The Keeper's Verdict doesn't hit onto anybody. TLP getting a nice flash to not get caught up by the public execution coming out from Ish. Would have been a dead Poppy and an Otacon for the side of TFF. Poppy's here just to try to deter them from taking this wave. Two-man Encore.
Encore coming in, looking for an angle, but Alistair stops TPD coming in immediately. Blocky Panda looking for an angle is going to take down Bread. The biggest thing is they need to get this Kaisa. Kaisa about half HP. Alistair trying to buy as much time as he possibly can. Pink taking so much damage as that's 2 deaths on the other side. Conduit needs to immediately turn this into an Otacon to capitalize the most they possibly can, and hopefully they do.
Yeah, and I mean, they're going for it right now. Buck has the double spell cast, so he can get a big heal for his team here. Just going to use it for himself there, which is just okay at that point, considering how low you were. But you have to be worried. Weird Stepper is still alive and very strong in this Kaisa. Cyclone has a flank angle behind you, and Ish is still here. So have to see how the side of Conduit ends up playing this one out. Nice hook by Gav.
Oh, the hook is good on Gav. Pulling in Kaisa. That's not what they need now. That's going to be a staggered carry on the other side as Otacon. Less than half HP. Conduit finally looking in a better shape. And I was talking about this. It doesn't matter how bad you do on the Blitzcrank. Just 1 or 2 good hooks will change a game, and that stagger secured the objective.
Yeah, that hook was massive out of Gav. The max range hit on the Weird Stepper, and then Blocky Panda immediately jumps on that. They take down the Kaisa and are able to get the Otacon for themselves and feel comfortable about the state of the game. They're only down 2,000 gold, but Otacon, with the amount of XP it gives and the ability, it gives about 2,000 gold in value. If you watch professional North American play, you hear Captain Flowers preach that all the time. So gold is essentially even in this game if you take into account the Otacon buff.
And now another objective falls to the side of Conduit. Despite Conduit losing, they've been able to get these neutral objectives, which really can win them games. Sure, the gold was originally on the side of TFF, but they're kind of floundering here a little bit, especially into this Blitzcrank. This is still a very, very fed Kaisa, but they only have about a K lead on Buck, on Seraphine, and Encore is just going to get stronger and stronger with a lot of this passage of time.
Yeah, and I mean, we kind of saw this in game number one at a TFF. Even with having a heavy kill lead, it doesn't really equate to them in getting a gold lead. It kind of always feels like these games are close despite how many kills they have and how fed their carries are. Like, this gold is only 2,000 gold, and with you have a 9-2 Kaisa, I feel like that gold lead should be much larger. You should be pushing the advantage, looking for more fights, looking for small plays before the neutral objectives to burn ultimates, burn summoner spells, but they're kind of not doing it, so they're letting the other team walk in with a like full even 5v5 team fight, and it just ends up having to have them be like a hands out play, a synergy out play, which has been working out for them for the most part, but we saw them lose the Otacon, lose the team fight before that, and then even, catch out the Fed Kaisa before that. So Conduit playing their way through this game as cleanly as they can and really finding their avenues to have an opportunity in this game. But I feel like TFF really needs to push the advantage that they do have and try to force this game open, break this game open in their favor instead of keeping it even.
Absolutely, and it's a good point. The biggest problem is there's constant pressure on that pool for Blitzcrank. Everybody knows how powerful it can be, and it can turn an assault into a death. Blocky Panda having to worry about Ivern make their way in. Same thing with Cyclone. They do close the distance. The Glacial coming in. Blocky Panda does have a lot of damage. TP coming in as well, but the third member going to get deployed as Daisy trying to buy some time. Cyclone is here looking for the damage, but the stuns are back and forth. Encore does hit, though, locking them down. I explained how important it was as two go down on the other side. Ish getting a little bit too close to the fire. Now having to run about this Garen, doing a good chunk of damage. Weird. Also getting stuck, but Pink comes in for the save, trying to buy time for his ADC to get out, but that's 3 kills in the favor of Conduit now. Not only Otacon, but Baron is gonna fall to Conduit.
Yeah, and just one pick. They tried to make a pick on to Blocky Panda on this Renekton, but the reinforcement was there from the rest of the Conduit camp. They get the max range bounce on the Encore onto Singular Bread on this Ivern, able to pick him off, then get Cyclone on the backside, then Weird Stepper on Pink Penguin on a bad spot, and Pink Penguin made the support play. He said, "I'll eat this hook for you, Weird Stepbro," and falls down. But now Baron goes in favor of the side of Conduit. Dragon number 3 putting them on the Soul Point is in their favor as well. It is looking like this game is turning around into Conduit's favor. Now the one sitting with the 1,000 gold lead.
And on top of that, like you said, mentioning the Otacon having about a 2K advantage. So technically speaking, they're a bit more ahead on top of that. And they're so close to that Dragon. Conduit looking in top shape. And now the tables have really turned. So TFF needs to be careful. They do have what it takes to win this, but they need to refocus. They need to center themselves, and they need to find the play. They need to get the knockups on Cyclone. They need to avoid the Blitzcrank. And most importantly, they need to capitalize on what they do have.
Yeah, we'll see how this rest of this game ends up playing out. Now with the Baron, the siege potential is there for the side of Conduit. They're able to get one turret for themselves so far. They have a wave pushing up in the top lane thanks to Blocky Panda. They look like they're going to start rotating over it to it, but they go back to get control of the mid wave. Blocky Panda takes tower shot. They're going to control this mid wave. The bot wave is not being looked at all. It's being pushed against them right now, so they are not applying pressure across 3 lanes. They're going to look to siege up this mid wave as Blocky Panda looks to join the rest of the team as 2 on the side of TFF respond to him.
And this tower is falling pretty decently fast on one side as the T2 is still alive. We are going to get a little bit of pull. Once again, Encore going to follow it up and do a good chunk of damage as Garen is looking for the spin to win and is indeed digging deep, doing a lot of back and forward. Cyclone looking for the knockup, but it looks like he's only going to find death for his trouble. And game number 3 might already be over because this siege is going to be hard to stop. And there's only 3 here on the defense on the side of TFF as Alistair tries to buy a little bit more time. Bessa goes back in, but once again, only going to find death and a hook and destruction as there's now only 2 remaining. The root coming in for Pink Penguin, able to stay alive, but at what cost? I think this game is over, Chung.
Gav found the hook again onto Weird Stepbro. Like you said, only 1 hook is needed to win a team fight for your team, and he has done it twice now in this game. The first Nexus turret falls, the second one falls. Kaisa's alive, but I don't think it matters. Like you said, Conduit Reapers gonna take game number 3 and take the series for themselves.
What a turnaround. I thought TFF had it in the bag, but Conduit said, shut up, Korak. We have this going in our favor. And indeed, it did happen. And it still shows the power for Blitzcrank. That poll is never not going to have some sort of potential. And we saw it over and over. I thought things were looking great with the Yone, able to get decent knockup after decent knockup. But just TFF really struggling to stick the landing in game number 3, Chung.
I mean, overall, like I said, for the side of TFF, they had such a strong AD carry. They need to be the ones to be pushing this advantage, but they kind of let the game stall out. They kind of keep it on an even playing field. And the side of Conduit, able to find the much more impactful team fights in the late game. Gav, the former top leader of this team in week number 1, even on the bye, comes in, plays support, has a rough game number 1. Game number 2 plays well. In game number 3, 2 hooks to win the game for his team are absolutely massive. And I mean, TFF, they just got to find a way to push the advantages that they do have. Wakanda Reapers were able to absorb so much in this game number 3 and then able to turn it around when they needed to most and are able to get the clutch win over a series I predicted to go in favor of TFF personally.
Absolutely. Conduit turning around right there at the end, taking down TFF in week number 2 of BOL. What a great performance. But, with this being a league, we're going to see more and more of these teams, more and more of these players going forward. But with that being said, we have come to the end of our cast, but make sure to keep tuned in every Wednesday. We will continue this ongoing. That is still, like I said, 2-1 lead for Conduit. I have been your host for the evening, Korak. He has been Chung, and we've had Loki on production, and this has been Blue Water Esports.